I don't think they would mute of the main theme because it's not like it's part of the game. So why didn't you play the main theme entirely? I just don't understand why. I mean, if you didn't look, if you were in the room with me, I'd be like, yeah, okay, you can say it's not
Totally
good,
had my
but
mic muted on stream. Do we want to start this bit over again?
yeah, go ahead.
Twang, 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 twang. Hey,
back to form.
Oh, thank God I stopped the music before they called.
I don't think that they would have muted you.
They would have, because drunk. You know how we really should have done this podcast is I should have just left the house and just had it broadcasting, and then you should say something into your microphone and then stand up and walk over to my room and then speak into my microphone on this side.
Yeah.
That would have been the real play.
Yeah. Yes, everybody in chat's fucking looking again. Look, it's not another podcast, part 2, season 2. It's finally here. We did it. We're done. We figured it's finally time to bring content back to your face in some form or another. Mainly because, boy howdy, it's been a while. I think the last time we were talking was October of last year.
Yeah, exactly. We've been dead silent to each other since October of last year. We haven't uttered a single word to each other.
The pandemic really had. Yep. That's when it really hit us.
It's been real awkward.
We've been in quarantine forever since. Sometimes you'll walk by and I think it's a ghost, and then I realize it's him.
It is, and you realize it is a ghost.
It is a ghost of a man.
A ghost
shell barely walking about.
A ghost of happiness past.
Oh. Remember we can go out and go to Hot Pot and not want to die?
Yeah. The last one that's been uploaded to YouTube was on August 11th.
Oh, no!
You guys didn't get 28. Which, did we ever do 28? Is this actually episode 28 and I'm an idiot and didn't number it right? Well, on YouTube it'll be fixed, I suppose.
Well, the lost episodes, not another reboot. Welcome back, guys. Hey, listen. We, as it's the case with every single podcast and every single thing that I turn over to Max and I go, hey, let's do something. And he turns to me and goes, yeah, I guess.
I think I said, if you want, was my response.
We were talking in the hall, and I go, yeah, so I think it's about right time that we bring it. There's a lot of stuff that's happened. We can definitely talk. He goes, yeah, sure, I guess I'll do that.
Sure.
He just said it. No, he said it just like that, like it was dejection. Like he was like, oh, I mean, do we have to do the channel stuff?
So then, you know what the real play would have it so that whenever we're in that, because we have like a hallway like position where we have most of our conversations in this apartment. And what we should do is just have, like, motion sensors set up so that the moment I lean against that corner, it's, like, live, recording.
Yeah, that's the conversation. Because every single time, I forget what it was, but I turned to him and I was like, you cannot keep consistently coming up with content that good and it not be recorded. I'm getting sick and tired of this bullshit.
Yeah, unfortunately, I am a wealth of content. But I'm too lazy to go to the outlet.
Most of our conversations, whenever I see him pass by the hall, is like, "Hey, G here," and he goes, "I don't care, but I'm going to talk for 20 minutes." like I know about it.
I don't care, but you seem really interested, so I'll stand here for the next 20 to 45 minutes instead of in front of a microphone.
He's in the hesitant side of indecision. Yeah, exactly. He's hesitant, and I just don't. So it's a match made in heaven. Tell you what.
So that's why I figure if we're gonna come back, I'm gonna stick a 2 on there, not like the other multitude of 2 episodes, but we'll call this a tentative season 2 unless we never do an episode after this again for 6 months, in which case that will be season 3. This will be like this is either the start of a second season or a one-off OVA, and I guess we'll find out.
We'll find out as soon as we get there. Really, it honestly depends on like the pandemic, to be entirely honest, because as things have been going the way that they are, we're only really kind of got news and things to report on right now and talk about, just because of the fact that we're sort of in the heyday of, hey, E3 was supposed to be happening, but now we've kind of got like little bits and pieces that we can actually speak on. I think there's been the real big issue is that, like, from March, which is when for all of us in Florida mainly, excuse me, the quarantine essentially started out. And since March, both Max and I have effectively been locked down in our house since then. I'm sure as everybody else has on their own respective months as well. And in that time, the world has effectively slowed to a crawl. So like, there's been nothing real evident to talk about. In fact, drama was like kind of a thing that just was the way of the past. Like, it was essentially, nothing was going on. And then within the last 2 months, everything blew up. Everything is on fire in a literal sense in some areas. And it's just, it's about high time you come and hear our highbrow comedy coming out of our mouths, boys and girls.
It's never been a better time to sit and talk about video games and the people around them than right now.
Oh boy.
Even if I have scrolled through this Discord list and don't have very much to say about some of these.
The thing is that, like, there's a bunch of news that we could probably keep going on as well, but it's just that we constantly run into the issue that we always run into when we have these swaths of time that we don't do a podcast. Sometimes it's like the original plan was like it's either going to be a 1 week or a 2 week break, so that we at least have some news that piles up, and we can report on it from that point on. And then now it's just like there's so much that's already happened in the grand scheme of things, and a lot of it really comes down to industry fucking up, but also like a couple of like 1 or 2 cool things got announced. So
So I think the best way to start this is the same way we always do. It has been for YouTube almost a year since the last podcast. What is one game that you've played in 365 days?
Final Fantasy VII Remake.
Sure.
Yeah.
But
I guess.
But bit aside, what have you been playing more recently to now?
More recently to now? So I've actually the main games that I've been trying to like really get my teeth into more so for just review purposes, because as everybody also saw on the YouTube channel, we actually uploaded a quick little PSO2 video instead of an actual review. The state of PSO2 is in such a place that essentially if you were playing that game, it is by every means a miracle at this point. I've gone through as many installation problems as I've gone through. Max apparently has essentially just tapped out. He refuses to even touch that game.
Yep.
I don't even think it's even on like I think we discussed this before. It doesn't matter if it even launches on another platform. You're just done.
I'm just kind of tired, which sucks because I really liked the game, but I didn't like it that much, and there's enough other things for me to be playing to try to get back into it. So that's where I'm at. And yeah, we did definitely have a video go up, the first one in over a year for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Because that has been your main squeeze for a while. You are well known for your free to play Korean beat 'em up games, beat 'em up MMOs. But Phantasy Star Online 2 is the big main one. And I can see why, after having gotten to play it for a week with little to no issue before having a big issue.
It is a really good game that is being marred essentially by Microsoft's just absolute fucking ridiculous storefront nature. And what's worse is that the event that's going on right now is absolutely fantastic. It is a NA exclusive 4th of July event. 100%. The Statue of Liberty is sitting in the lobby. You can be Uncle Sam. It is all exclusive. They have like exclusive weapon skins that have never been released in friggin' Japan. It's like they're going out of their way to definitely create a video game experience worth having. It's just that the amount of hurdles you have to jump, or rather, it's now gotten to a point where it's like, at this point, I have the game working because I've used the tweaker. The tweaker now essentially just completely bypasses the Microsoft Store and the Xbox Store. It is, if you do want to play the game, like I said, I feel really bad because we had to come out and be like, hey, listen, all these problems are happening, and there are a lot of us who really, like, we had like 20 plus people come and join the guild on like the first day, which is huge. Like, it's a ton of people who really were on board and wanted to play, and now it's barely like 2 or 3 that can even sign on, because most people keep, as we keep seeing in the PSO2 chat, most people just can't even physically play the fucking game. So goddamn shame. Really hope that on some level that when it drops on Steam or whatever, because if it's on the Epic Game Store, oh boy.
Yeah, man, that'll be coming soon to Uplay. Origin yeah. I hope that game does end up working once it's out on like Steam or something.
That's another game that people have been really kind of hesitant on picking up, because everyone sees Titanfall 2 pop up on Steam and they go, "Oh yes, I'd love to pick this up finally," and then immediately they get hit with the realization of, you still have to install Origin.
Wait a second, you lied. This isn't on Steam at all. You just put it in a different shopping cart.
Which is fine, because it means that like sales actually happen.
Yeah,
that's the trade-off essentially with Steam, is that when you buy it through a separate storefront, you're effectively just you're allowing yourself to be like, okay, I'm paying less for it than I would normally through Origin, which barely has any sales, if at all. And like their whole thing is that just because like they do the whole like Origin Access Premier thing where, oh, we'll just sign up for a monthly and you can play all these games for free. Like that's their big fucking thing, like the Games Pass and shit like that. But yes, a lot of people hype was up through the roof. Titanfall 2 actually has a community again. There's a ton of people who are playing Titanfall 2 again, but there are also some people in our Discord. We were trying to set up for a community night, and I think there's enough to where we can go ahead and justify it, but I don't know just yet. So that's still up in the air for everybody. Whatever.
I am looking forward to trying the game and maybe finishing the campaign this time. But it definitely does feel like you walked into a Target and like to buy a game, and then as they're ringing you up, they're putting the GameStop hat on, and they're pulling out a copy of an issue of Game Informer, and you're like, all right, I'm already at checkout. No, and you still go through the process, and then they put it in a Target bag still, but like, you know that there's a Power Up Rewards brochure in that Target bag.
It's not even in there because you still have to go to the GameStop across the corner to pick the game up.
To get the disc up, they got to go through the drawer. Are you interested in some thinking? No, I'm not.
Oh,
The Sims 4 has a new stuff pack out. I don't care. No, thank you. It's okay.
God, how the mighty have fallen.
But
so bad. Could we even call them mighty? I don't even know if that's the correct terminology for GameStop.
It's hard to say. But besides PSO2, have you played or watched or listened to anything at all?
Let me go ahead and start pulling up the stuff that I listened to. But really, right now, what I've been kind of sinking my teeth into, like I said before, is Valorant. A lot of Valorant, a sufficient amount of it. I've played a ton of the beta that came out, and I've put quite a few hours into the full version of the game. I think that they shadow dropped a patch where bullets finally work again.
That's a really cool feature.
That's a super cool feature when you pull the trigger and stuff happens in a video game that's about that. So I'm currently working on finishing up the review. The footage is all kind of done. I don't know how Max is going to go. If Max actually decides to sift through the footage, he will find really silly, awful moments, because most of the time it's me playing with my friends and just doing really stupid shit. But I'm sure it'll just be for B-roll. So if anything, we'll just have a good amount of footage. Looks really good. The review will go up. Hopefully people enjoy it. People seem to really enjoy the PSO2 video. I'm going to keep most of my thoughts towards that video game on the review. All I'm going to say right now is okay.
It's okay.
It's okay.
It's worth the rootkit DRM.
I don't know about that. I mean, see, I've jumped through tons and tons of fucking hoops to play a lot of video games, and I think a lot of that comes from my background of trying to get into most Korean MMOs that weren't released before. So I'm used to like having to download like things that may potentially compromise network security, but fuck it, I'll be able to play this stupid brawler MMO.
Please look forward to our streams of 300 Heroes coming soon.
Oh Jesus!
You've seen 300 Heroes, right?
No. What is that? I'm gonna look it
up. 300 Heroes is a MOBA that our friend of the show, Alex ZZ, actually downloaded, despite all of my desperate pleas for him not to download it. And it is quite possibly the largest example of copyright infringement I have ever seen in my entire life.
Yeah, the first two characters that pop up are Sasuke and Yugimoto gameplay, so I don't understand how this is even possible.
Wally is in the game.
Oh fuck! What tier is Wally at?
Giorno Giovanna made it in. All your favorite Sword Art Fate characters, they're all there. Your One Pieces, Usopp, Alphonse, that just man, copyright law is crazy. How you can sometimes you can just get away with what the fuck ever.
You could just fucking do it, and people aren't gonna say shit about it because it's like, well, he's a little hush hush. But if you do it here, oh, it's a big issue.
That's a huge issue.
If they can catch you,
if you download this game, you will be sued for copyright infringement because they'll know.
It's like they retroactively put like the jailed sentences from like Kazan, LimeWire downloading directly into that fucking game as a surrogate, and you just the more and more you just add years on, like Freedom Wars.
It's just you're no longer allowed to talk to people of the opposite sex. You are no longer allowed to run. You are no longer allowed to jump. Do not go up any stairs. You downloaded 300 Heroes. That's 300 years.
Are you laying down? Stop that, you
no,
idiot.
You have to sleep sitting
Heroes
up.
For 3 matches.
Oh,
moron.
But other than that, your tolerance is a lot higher to that sort of thing than mine is.
100%. 100%. I kind of revealed it on the stream earlier because we were talking about like things we wanted to do for the channel. You haven't played Lost Planet 2 ever, and I really wanted to play Lost Planet 2. And it's pretty notorious on PC for it works once you get past the hurdle that is the now defunct Games for Windows Live service, which apparently is only defunct enough to where it doesn't work for other games, but still somehow allows you to connect and play Lost Planet 2.
Yeah.
So it's very strange. We're working on that. And by that I mean I've got Max so close to maybe sort of trying to figure it out. So hopefully that playthrough is coming to the channel at some point, because that is a game that is worth playing through time and time again. It's so good. So goddamn good.
Mayhaps a chance.
Other than that, I guess I haven't really been watching anything. I haven't really subscribed to a whole lot of new YouTubers as well. It's kind of been quiet on the front of that, just because I think every single person has been dealing with the quarantine in their own special way.
Yeah.
A lot of people that I have been subscribed to forever and a day are, I guess, like the most consistent people that would be people like Eric's Gaming and like all the like Azalira, who is a PSO2 YouTuber. Mm-hmm. People who are like, they're like guides, like guide centric, or they're like all about like helping people play these like particular games. Like I really like some of that content, even if it's like weirdly enough for a game I don't play, just to see how like far down the rabbit hole some people have to go. Like trying to watch a DNF guide is fucking wild to me.
Yeah.
Do you think like this fucking brawler game is like just really simple, go left and right? And it's like, no, there's so much more that you have to really kind of clue into that's wild. But in terms of listening to anything, I guess a lot of Death from Above. Death from Above had released an album 2 years ago that I just completely forgot about. They're one of my like duo favorite bands like ever. They're right up there with Queens of the Stone Age and Royal Blood for being like just some of my favorite bands of all time. And it's really fucking good. Holy Books is an incredible album. Yes, you fucking look it up. And then also, I discovered a sort of app, kind of like how we talked about. There was a Japanese DJ, Carmelia, I think the name was.
Yeah,
Carmelia, yes. There is a much more like atmospheric, experimental drum and bass one called Taishi.
That actually sounds familiar. For once, that sounds familiar.
Hey, you got it. And there's a couple of really good ones. My favorites so far are False God, Reverie for Another Sphere, and From Two Planets.
Sure.
It's really good stuff. Really good shit you guys should listen to. And yeah, I guess it's just I was making an attempt at watching Beastars. And I loaded up an episode and we watched the intro. Me and Max watched the intro like a slight bit. And then we just talked about anime that we should watch.
Yeah. But
and I think we decided that we are going to, the one anime that we are going to watch at some point is Attack on Titan.
Yeah.
We did. Oh, we sat to Rebuild.
I was going to say, there is one you are forgetting that you did watch. Yeah.
We did sit the Rebuild. Rebuild's cool.
Part one. You saw the recap episode.
Yeah, pretty much. I'm excited for part two.
Yeah, we should watch that sometime soon.
But after watching the Attack on Titan Season 4 trailer, I think Max and I are both in agreement that fucking show and that series looks ridiculous and we need to watch it.
Looks like it goes some places.
Yeah, so very excited for whenever that fucking happens. And I guess finally, I just out of pure curiosity rented out Knives Out yesterday and watched it in full. Really funny, really great. Kind of upset that there's a lot of people using the Star Wars thing against Rian Johnson and not actively trying to watch this movie or look at it in any capacity. Beautifully shot, beautifully written, very, very funny. It's just it airs of like a different era of movies where it just feels like everyone's having a really good time. It's not super nihilistic. It's got a lot of really just genuinely good heartfelt moments in a story that is actually kind of terrifying. The twist was told to me really early, like it was told really early in the story, and it completely like changes the entire framing of what the whole idea is about. Because I don't know if you remember what Knives Out was about.
Vaguely.
Basically, it's just like, long story short, this billionaire dude is found dead in his study.
Oh yeah, it's like Clue.
Yeah, it's like Clue.
Yeah.
Except immediately they tell you what really happened, and then you start to piece together that no, there was actually more going on that you didn't know about, and it centers around a maid character and her dealing with all the fallout of everything that was going on, and it's very interesting. It's incredibly funny. I can't stress enough that if you have time, everyone is fantastic in that movie. Mainly Daniel Craig being a foghorn leghorn man with his big old southern drawl. Super fantastic. Loved every character in that movie. Super good.
Yeah, I should check that out. I have heard nothing but good things about it.
Yeah.
It's very, very good.
What about you, Mr. Max? What do you got down the pipeline? I know what game you're going to talk about because you got about 300 fucking hours of it on your hard drive.
I've got, I suppose I have, oh fuck, there's been two. I have played through, Persona 5 Royal, which has come out, and it was pretty good. And, I've also played Dead by Daylight. Tried that.
Oh yeah, you finally tried it. I didn't ask you when we stopped. Did you actually enjoy what little you did play of it? Because it was a really good time, I thought, when we were playing together.
Yeah. It will require more time, I think, before I really come around on it. But like, I at least understand what it is now. And they
couldn't have set it up more towards just completely literally throwing it to the dogs as much as it possibly could, because every single time we booted up a match, the killer was almost always going after Max.
Yeah, I almost to the point where I wonder if the killer can see like a little green leaf next to new players. But I had a decent enough time. I figured, Pyramid Head's in it. There's enough like cool killers that I'm like interested in now, and I'm still not a huge horror fan, so it doesn't hit me the same way I think it hits a lot of people. But it was fun enough with some people. I'll have to play some more of it. And then aside from just trying some demos that were available they had like a Steam indie game showcase weekend thing, so I tried out a couple of games that seemed kind of cool but still very early. The other big game that I've been playing is Persona 4 Golden. Came out on PC. I am pretty much done with the vanilla Persona 4 content as of 60 hours in, and the two things I've noticed are, wow, this game is very short compared to the last Persona game that I had just got finished playing, which my final playtime clocked in at about 130 hours or so.
Oh my god.
Persona 4 Golden is a lot shorter, and also, gosh, is that like the coziest game I've ever played. That's like, it sounds silly, but it's like the perfect rainy day game. As long as you're not playing at midnight and looking at a TV, I guess.
Yeah.
Love Persona 4 Golden. If you've never played it, it's like $20 on Steam. Any computer can run it. It's kind of magical seeing it run at like 144 hertz or 4K 60. And I'm
completely unnecessary. Absolutely love it still.
It's like you're looking on a cute little diorama when it's moving that smoothly and that clearly. And I'm hoping that it won't be too long before we start seeing some other Atlas titles getting ported to PC. Not anytime soon, because I need like a little bit of a break. But and it's not so much that I want to take a break, it's that like I need to take one. Because if I don't, then I will just play right through the next one that comes out. And there's
you're a maniac.
Yeah. But very much enjoying it. Very much enjoying it. Not too many other notable things that I've played. It's just more fighting games. The Legs character came out yesterday in Smash. She's cool. As far as listening, it's kind of just, more of the same. I listen to a lot of soundtracks and stuff, but I would like to make a special, it's not an announcement. Shout out, that's what it's called. For J Music Ensemble. They are releasing a Persona 5 jazz tribute album, and you can currently back it over on Indiegogo, and it is called Persona 5 Metagroove. And if you've heard of any of J Music Ensemble's work, it is all fantastic. They do really good jazz, soul, like funk covers. And I have already put in my money to get my physical copy of that soundtrack, or that album. So I highly recommend checking that out. As far as watching stuff, I'm still in my little what I've now dubbed the slice of life cycle.
Oh boy.
Which is watch the 1 to 2 seasons of a slice of life show, get really attached to everything, and then get told to fuck off and read a book instead. And the two notable ones were a New Game, which I watched because I needed a happy story about game development. Which is not what we're getting in real life. Boy. New Game, very cute, highly recommend. I picked up the Blu-ray because it was super cheap. So I have that now, and Love is War Season 2 was airing this season, and that show is, I would say, one step short of a masterpiece. It is really... that show is incredible, and the manga was on sale, so I sort of picked all those up, too. So, other than that, BNA came out on Netflix, so as soon as we're done recording the podcast, I am going to go and binge BNA in the living room.
Really? I thought it was done already. Or not done. I thought it was already like
No, it was
already
in Japan, But the way Netflix works is that until the entire thing has aired, they will not bring it over here, because that you won't binge it if they can't release it all at once. So sometimes, like Beastars was a good example, it was like 6 months before we got it, and that's because it had to air in Japan first.
Right.
So it's not a death sentence for Netflix to license your show. It just means you're going to have to wait until you probably will forget about it before it'll actually release.
Yikes.
So I'm looking forward to that. And then I've picked up quite a few just Blu-rays that I need to watch. Like Premiere came out. I haven't watched that again yet on my TV. I would like to do that. And I also picked up Gunbuster and Diebuster, which I'm very excited about watching. The OG Gainax big robot movie thing. It's where the pose comes from. But I think that's everything of note. I guess as far as like YouTube goes, I would just like to say, Mr. Joseph Anderson, thank you for lulling me to sleep at night with your very, very interesting, very, very long videos. That's what I've mostly been getting into during the quarantine, are extremely long videos about games I have never and probably will never play. If your video is like longer than 45 minutes, it can be about anything. I just kind of want to put it on in the background. And there have been a couple of really, really good channels for that. The other one I want to give a big old shout out to is Thor High Heels, who just put out a 1 hour long video about From Software's old games, and not Armored Core, although he does talk about it a little bit. From Software's made some fucking weird-ass games. He didn't talk about the one we played either. For
Baroque.
the Power
Yeah.
Hour. Didn't talk. Baroque was not in there, and it's still an hour long. It is a very cool video, and Thor High Heels is a very funny man who makes very good content. So I recommend checking that out. And I think that's everything for me.
I got 3 for you.
Ooh.
That are very similar.
Let's see.
I'm sure you've heard of Matthew Matosis. Matthew Matosis has his he's normalized like the 44 to hour long reviews of games.
Cool.
Gameological Dig is absolutely one of my favorites. He doesn't have a whole lot of content. The backlog that he does have is incredible. Gameological Dig is what I would assume, like it's essentially like if the guy from the Twilight Zone, the dude who did all the announcements of all the like the narration, essentially, like he narrated like games and their themes and stuff like that. The best series he's done was on Soma, and right now he's working on a Bioshock Infinite one bit by bit. And I believe the third one was coming to my head. I know you're not a big horror guy, but he also does some other stuff too, where he talks about like unconventional horror games and stuff. Is Ragnar Rocks?
I've heard of
Ragnar Rocks. Is really it's pretty great. Definitely enjoy a lot of his content, and I like the intellectual side of gaming. I like to be reminded that there is an actual fucking a thing that's there that doesn't make me feel like it's just a toy. You know what I mean? Because I really do feel like a lot of the problems that we run into nowadays is that people just kind of liken these things to just time wasters and not like real vehicles for genuine storytelling. And those 3 essentially are really good at kind of cutting through the bullshit and just creating really awesome content that I haven't seen like a whole lot of people really do. It's not like a thought essay, or it's not like anything like that, like in a traditional sense. It's like a genuine, almost thesis happening, and it's really fucking cool to see just an actual educational take on a lot of this stuff. Whereas Ragnar is more on the spooky side. Gameological Dig is more in like a psychological, and then Matthew Matosis is more very analytical. It's a hard analyst of video games, and he does them like bit by bit by bit. I believe I'd say his or Joseph's that I'm confusing, that has one of them has a Death Stranding review that is like 7 hours long.
I was gonna say, I'm looking at Matthew Matosis's okay, there it is. There's a Dark Souls commentary that's 6 hours long, but all his other videos are like 15 minutes to 20.
Well, as far as I knew,
Joe is 3 hours long. Okay, never mind. All right, you are correct.
So it's like basically, it's like here and there he'll do like small reviews, but then like he'll just go into like he calls it commentary, but essentially it's him breaking down games bit by bit from a review analytical standpoint.
Gotcha.
So
I will
really
say, last thing to help us transition to something else is just something I want to ask you, because I assume you also fall asleep with things playing in the background.
Yes.
What is is there one thing in particular that is the most common thing for you to wake up to? Does the YouTube rabbit hole always direct you back to one singular place, like my YouTube rabbit hole does?
No.
So what happens is I go to sleep and I could be watching fucking cooking videos. I could be watching anything. When I wake up, I will be 2.5 hours into a 3-hour Breath of the Wild review. No matter what. And it will always be a different Breath of the Wild review.
It's always 3 hours. Why are they doing this?
It's always at least 2 hours, closer to 4, and I'm always smack 2.5 hours in. Every time.
So that's what the rabbit hole I go down. The rabbit hole that I've gone down is the Twitch one, where you leave the Twitch thing on and then the auto host list starts kicking in.
Oh,
and you start seeing all the weird, crazy channels that come up from people that they just know by proxy. And I've woken up to gacha games from Valorant streams more than I'm willing to admit. And I don't know how that keeps working.
Fair enough.
I don't understand how that works. Which is just, it's so funny to just wake up and see that One Piece gacha game. And you're just like, what? Who plays this?
Who is streaming this right now?
What is going on? Why do they have so many people watching? What's happening? The fuck?
Oh, they're also always talking about whether Breath of the Wild should be considered a Zelda game.
Oh god.
Multiple channels.
Well, I mean, it's a genuine discussion, right? It's a definite piece that needs to be spoken about.
I know, I get that, but
is it really?
But why is that when I wake up? Why does that conversation cause me so much unrest? That's when I wake up. I'm like, okay, no, I have to turn this off now. The first 2 hours were great. Now
it's nature coming after you because you don't like
I don't like Breath of the Wild
game.
That must be
you
it.
Don't like it.
My Switch must hear me. It's like when the Switch. It's like when my Wii U used to turn on and yell at me that fucking Donkey Kong Jungle Freeze is on sale, like it used to do.
Oh yeah, because the Wii U would just randomly turn on after updates and shit.
Yeah. Or if things went on sale in the store, it would wake itself up. Austin, I think that his channel now is Austin SV, but the one that's always in our stuff, made a whole animation about it because there was one night where at 4 in the morning, my Wii U made a huge Donkey Kong Jungle Beat Icicle Freeze 10% off. I'm like, I don't give a shit. It's 4 in the morning. I just went to sleep 2 hours ago.
In my line of work, that would be considered almost like a security vulnerability, depending on whether or not somebody can just send and ping random messages at all hours of the night to your fucking Wii U.
Well, that's the scary thing is I'd keep my Wii U tablet on my coffee table in front of my bed where it used to be. So it was always facing my bed, and the front of the Wii U has a camera on it. So I'm almost wondering if Miyamoto was sitting in his office waiting for me to go to sleep before he'd let me know about Donkey Kong sales.
And he's the one who's clicking into your YouTube history and forcing you the algorithms.
Now he's the one who's listening to my Alexa, and if the Alexa hears snoring, it's it's time. He's asleep. Put on the fucking puppet that reviews.
You know how people Arlo?
Arlo is the most recent one.
I like the idea of Miyamoto going in and using the Alexa, because you know how people they would do that subconsciously of putting on headphones and then try to learn language when they're sleeping.
Yeah.
Is Miyamoto forcing you to listen to Arlo videos so you just turn whole ass around on the Switch?
You know what? I really do love my Switch. I think $60 is a reasonable price for games that are 3 years old. But
it doesn't help your mood at all. It just makes you much more sad. But you're like a hardcore Nintendo fan now.
Yeah, I'm not happy about it. I sense that something's wrong, but I can't put my finger on what. I'm just one thought away from piecing everything together and realizing I'm in the simulation.
Truly a victim of the database. Database.
Every Breath of the Wild video is personalized.
A DNA watermark and it all trends right back to Max. That's where the extra X comes from. It's the DNA watermark included with every Nintendo video.
Oh no, it's what is it? It's not licensed. It's the Nintendo seal of approval. That's where that birthmark came from. It's a QR code, so my Alexa knows to play the fucking.
You are actually just a small child, Rob.
Miyamoto found out I got my Switch for like $120, so as soon as I went to go pick it up, they fucking shipped me. So they know when I'm asleep. It's Breath of the Wild time. Get Arlo on the line.
Oh my god. Here we go.
Holy shit.
Where was that supposed to transition into? I'm sorry.
It was supposed to bring us to news, but...
Hey, let's go. I'm trying to look at this list of shit that we got. There's a lot of bad news. Let's talk about good news.
Yeah, Bless is getting released again.
Ah!
Alright.
I do like that joke. I finally, when I watched the PSO2 video, I was like, you know what? That is a fair play, Max. That is a completely forgot about Bless Online. I think many people forgot about it. You brought it up first. It's here. Yeah, I put it as the definition of insanity. Bless Unleashed is coming to PC in early 2021. Bless Unleashed is, by the way, not the same as Bless Online. It is an entirely new game.
Good.
In the Bless universe, it is an action RPG that's been out on the Xbox for a while now. I don't know if it's successful. It's enough to where they're trying to release it on PC in some capacity. After what happened with PSO2, I don't know what the fuck.
All it has to do is come out on Steam. That's all it has to do, but
all it really has to do.
Yeah, I don't know about this one, guys. Maybe you should just focus on Blue Protocol, Bandai Namco. That can be your big MMO thingy. Whatever the fuck that game is.
Like, I get it, man. Like, I understand a developer really wants to have their thing out there, but when you have easily one of the most indescribably generic fucking Korean MMOs of all time, and it tanks, and you still feel like the license has some staying power. Yeah. It's like, bro, you got it. Someone's got to tell that guy. First of all, someone's going to tell the investors, dude, go away. You're literally wasting your fucking money.
Bless,
like, just go home.
Bless is the killer app that PC needs in the next console generation. Clearly, that's why they took members of the Tales development team and moved them to Bless Unleashed to really ensure that game hits its mark when it releases.
And it's funny you bring that up because, man, Tales of Arise got fucking delayed.
Yeah, let me tell you.
Guess what?
1 year since the last podcast, that gives you a whole lot of time to work on segues.
Oh boy. So there's not a whole lot. First of all, there wasn't already a whole lot of news on Tales of Arise coming down the pipeline anyway.
It was kind of the problem.
It was kind of an issue considering the fact that, like, this is like the first real big Tales game that hit Hideo Baba, I believe his name was. He's gone from the company now, and this is a kind of like a new take on the Tales genre. I'm going to call it an entire genre of its own because Tales games basically might as well be. And it looked really cool from what we saw, but at the same time, there was already no fucking news of its release window other than 2020, like a nebulous 2020, and now it's completely gone from this year. It's in no fault of anybody's right now. It is completely almost 100% on the back of COVID. Like we're seeing essentially a whole bunch of companies come forward. That are basically like, yeah, we're going to have to push everything back. And a lot of that really comes down to the fact that with E3 essentially being canceled, which is a thing that we also, I guess, can put into there. Like, one of the bigger, most explosive reveals of the COVID thing was that along with COVID essentially showing up and completely throwing the world asunder, E3 is just gone.
Yep.
I think in some capacity, they're going to come back from rebranding in some point next year. But we have like no news of that. So right now, everyone has been kind of just sort of piecemealing content out bit by bit. The Summer Games Fest from Jeff Keighley has really kind of helped alleviate some of that pain, if only just for like a moment.
As someone who has now streamed E3 for like 6 or 7 years gross, it has been an absolute nightmare this year. I have had negative energy for most of these because at least, it wasn't perfect before, but at least it's like, oh, this is the Ubisoft conference. If I sit down, I have some idea of what to expect. Or, okay, this is the EA conference. I'll sleep through that. Or this is the PS4 like, they've been somewhat put into these little boxes, but sometimes it's just like, here's the PC gaming show. What's going to be in this? I don't know. Indie stuff? Okay, then what about the one we watched that was Orange? Do you know which one I'm talking about? I can't even remember the name of it.
Game Expo.
Yeah.
New Game Expo, yeah.
I was like, okay, what's going to be at the New Game Expo?
Catherine,
Shadow
a game of No More Heroes?
Catherine.
And you don't even get to see it?
I was going to say, New Game Expo shows Catherine, a game that came out in 2014. It also showed Catherine Full Body, a game that came out in 2019, but I guess is closer to being a new game. So keeping up with everything has been, like, annoying, but, like, I get it. So I can only hope that next year, if God willing, that we're able to go outside, we'll be back to at least just having, like, a 3-day window. It's like, okay, for 3 days, expect to sit down and talk over a conference. And then, don't worry about it for the rest of the year. Because having it every couple of days and not knowing exactly if it's worth even covering has been really obnoxious.
Yeah. It's also just, like, kind of deflating. Because, like, honestly, no matter what, I've always looked at E3 as, like, for me, it's always been a personal holiday.
Yeah.
It's always been something where I've looked forward to E3 every single year since 2005, 2006, when I was really kind of sitting down and watching Tech TV and then do all their coverage and shit like that. And then, the inception of the content creation era and seeing all my favorite, YouTubers do reactions to shit like that. And it's always been just a massively fun event. And when I've always told myself, it's like, I even said, like, this was going to be the year I go to E3 because this was going to be the big year, right?
Yeah.
Last year we were talking about it where it was like, next year's going to be the big one because they're going to have all the console reveals. They're going to have everything going on. It's going to be, like, huge, massive. So many crazy games are going to come out, and it's going to be just insane. And I've never had a much more disappointing, just, like, break back to reality of, well, you missed the train, and not only is the just not coming back, the station got demolished.
Yeah,
it's just gone. Like, there's nothing left. That whatever's going to come back next year is not going to be the same. It might as well be PAX from what they're talking about.
Please look forward to F4 coming next year. And when eventually a bunch of controversy comes out, game journalists will get to use Alt F4 on F4.
Oh my god.
G5 in 2022.
Someone's gamer fuel fucking flavor. I hate it. But it is really heartbreaking. And even more so, just like you said, it just trying to figure out what the fuck is worth. I mean, Xbox tried something.
I disagree wholeheartedly. No.
Xbox tried something, right? I don't.
What the gameplay thing where they showed no gameplay? No, I would say Xbox tried zero. I'd say PlayStation, Sony had a pretty good one where I got to see a video game, and I guess I know what Unreal Engine 5 does, and I can't think of anything else. PC Gaming Show had a couple of cool titles that were fun indies, but I can't remember any of them, which is kind of the problem with having.
And the biggest news from the PC Game Show was obviously P4. Which...
Yeah, and I'm already almost done with that fucking game. Great conference, idiot.
Come on. Let's move on. Next one. The biggest reveal, obviously, the one that's been the most talked about, the one that's had the most going on for it, the actual reveals, was the PS5 unveiling this literal monochromatic cyberpunk fucking thing that nobody really is sure about whether or not you can lay it on its side. It has been confirmed. You can lay it on its side.
Yes.
And we still don't have any like actual monetary details for it, which is wild to think about considering that the thing is coming out this year.
And we know it's going to cost $4.99. So I don't know why they don't just say it.
Yeah. So
very silly.
big reveal is that it's going to be there's going to be two versions, a disc-based version and a digital version. But the hard drive is only going to be 825 gigabytes. So either games are really they are absolutely going to be smaller, like they keep saying that they are.
Yeah.
Or we're being fucking like.
Or SSDs are really expensive.
So these are incredibly expensive.
Which is what they should be saying while they talk about how fast they are.
Yep. They have kind of revealed that you can use external drives and shit like that, which is good. I think you can use external drives with PS4 Pro now. Originally, you had to do what I did, which is like you had to put a fucking at my first PS4, I had to put a whole terabyte hard drive in there, and then PS4 Pro came out with its own terabyte hard drive, and I was like, I'm not going to be playing that many games, am I? And now I'm at a point where it's like I'm having to delete like one or two games just to play one that's coming out. It's really fucking bothersome, and I really hope that they figure that out.
So wait, the whole point of the PS5 is that because of its SSD, it can have games that exist that couldn't exist before, right?
Right. So how is it going to work with a hard drive?
If I plug in my Western Digital, like, is it just using it for storage? Does it copy and paste the game onto the main hard drive?
I don't know.
If I plug in my SSD, if I plug in my external hard drive, then where am I going to plug in my controller? That one's a thinker.
I'm looking at this article. Well, the thing we have to be hearing about is like what Street Fighter 6 would have to be coming out, right? Because there's no way they're going to just bring 5 to the fucking PS5.
I hope that it's not Street Fighter 6. I hope it's a Capcom different fighting game, but
no, it's going to be Street Fighter 6.
Well, we're not going to see that for at least 2 years because they just announced another season pass and another 5 characters, and only Jesse is excited.
That was Jesse. It was his birthday the other
day. Happy birthday to Jesse. This one comes straight from Ona.
Happy birthday to Jesse.
Please look forward to Oro, Rolento, and Elena.
Oh, man. Okay, so these are not in order. Here are the reveals that happened. I guess from what this article is saying. Hey, Demon Souls is coming back, and everyone was going, I'm with you when we were both like, boy, I hope that Blue Point game isn't just Demon Souls. That'll be really deflating if it's just Demon Souls. Of course it was.
Sure.
But man,
it's the only one that needed a remake, I guess.
I suppose. I'm not very excited for it. The more and more I think about it, the more I'm like, yeah, no, Bloodborne completely blew everything out of the water for me. I can't go back and play Dark Souls 3 because in my head I just want to play Bloodborne at like an acceptable frame rate.
Yeah.
Just please. It's so good. Why can't I just play this game the way it was intended to be played? Resident Evil 8 returns first person. Village Resident Evil, the game that was the worst kept secret in Capcom history for a while, had pretty much its entire plot leak, all of its gameplay stuff leak. It's the one leak I didn't look into. It's the one I even looked into the Final Fantasy VII leak a little bit.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is the one leak I hadn't heard shit about. All I knew is it was called Village. So finally seeing that game happen, and it looks unfucking real. It looks exactly like what 7 was, where it was just a incredibly unique take on both the genre and the series itself, while still somehow retaining a lot of the Resident Evil DNA. And since I've seen him do it before, I'm 100% sure that they can do it again. And I really like the idea that they're turning around and actually going out and saying, well, fuck it, vampires and werewolves, and it's all a virus. Who cares?
Yeah,
who cares?
It's called the virus. And it turns you into a big bat. Whatever. Umbrella, they fuck it. Whatever. Chris is a brick shithouse now. Whatever.
Also a huge murderer.
He's probably
big
a good
murderer.
guy.
I don't know.
I think he's definitely going to be a good guy. That wasn't your girlfriend. That was the girlfriend virus, and Umbrella made it to cuck you. Like, whatever. Chris is now, and then you're both punching rocks, you know?
Imagine a whole ass multi-million-dollar pharmaceutical company making a virus for the sole purpose of making your life an NTR hentai.
Is that better than Chris killing your girlfriend so that you'll date Claire instead?
No! It's
not.
It's not.
What's the main character's name again?
Ethan.
Yeah, Ethan. Ethan, there's no time. We gotta find Claire. She doesn't have much time left.
She's almost a spinster. What's the one I heard? It had me rolling every time. It's like, she named her fucking cat Albert Whiskers. Please.
Claire has the C virus, and she adopted a bunch of cats.
It's almost over. Menopause is so close.
The M virus is
so
here.
Close.
Now Umbrella is working with Chris. No, Umbrella's working with Leon. Yeah, so the PS5 conference sucked too, because they didn't show that cutscene.
Oh.
It already leaked. You might as well just show it.
Hey, you know what was also really confusing and really shitty of a fucking reveal was the Spider-Man Miles Morales. Boy howdy, I wish that was just its own sequel and not a standalone expansion pack. That is a different thing. 100% something that they should have just made much clearer when they said it, because that looks way better than Spider-Man. Spider-Man was great, but I just looks way better.
I was looking forward to a full game as Miles. I will take what I can get, but I don't know how you could have made it clear from within the conference other than a guy saying it.
Well, just say,
because obviously
Spider-Man PS5 edition includes Miles Morales expansion.
Yeah,
like every other fucking thing that's ever done it before.
Because obviously Spider-Man 2 is going to be about Peter, because it kind of has to, given what's been built up. But yeah, they should have said Spider-Man PS5, and then that what they showed should have been a little teaser at the end. Epilogue. Whatever.
Epilogue. Horizon Forbidden West is the sequel to Horizon Zero Dawn. It's coming. Who cares? I wish I liked that game.
I might try it just so I can be happy with my television purchase, but I don't have any interest in it outside of that. Maybe then after I play it, I'll wake up to Horizon Zero Dawn reviews. Who knows?
I really feel like the best way to do that is just kind of load up Final Fantasy 15 again. I still think that 15 beats a lot of these like games out for looking the best on a 4K TV right now.
7 was pretty magical. I don't know.
7 was pretty magical. It really was.
You don't get too many shots of an open blue sky though in 7.
Yeah,
because of that gosh darn pizza.
That rotting pizza
in the sky.
Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart actually showcased usage of the fucking SSD technology. Really cool.
Now I understand what they mean when they say SSD fast. That's all they had to show.
Load quick.
That's
big loads.
All you had to show.
Fast. All right, I'm not gonna say big and fast loads. It's not really. That's not a good selling point to put on the back of the box. At least not that one.
And they will put it there. That should have been the name of it. Hey, in Ratchet and Clank tradition, that should have been the name of the game.
Big and fast loads?
Yeah.
Ugh.
Speaking of big and fast loads, there's going to be a female Lombax character.
Did you see that the guys who made they're like, we knew exclusively what we were doing. We knew we just did everything in our power to give more power to the furry scene. We did this on purpose.
They're strong.
100%.
They're strong. You can't give them too much power. Yeah, a lot of stupid comments I read about that. It's like, wow, I can't believe they gender bent Ratchet. And I'm like, or it's a second character.
Yeah.
Or it's like a different person. Maybe.
You know, like normal people would think.
I can't believe they cloned Chris using the Redfield virus. Like, who?
All right, well, hold on, relax, because that might be like a real thing.
No,
though.
that is most certainly real. That's what people should be upset about. That they cloned Chris to get Ethan and have sex with Claire.
No. Stop it! I hate this.
Well,
I hate how real it is.
Guess what? You should have read the leaks to disprove me, but here we are.
Wow, you piece of shit. Gran Turismo 7, it's finally.
Only Max is excited. It's just Max.
It's cool. I'd love to try Gran Turismo out, actually, as opposed to just kind of like fiddling around with it once and going, this is not mine, and I just put it back down.
Like, it's not for you, or this is physically not my video game?
Both of them.
Fair enough.
Like, I was just like, I'm good.
Well, you can't play that Tales game you wanted to on the PS3, but I do have Gran Turismo 6 installed and ready to go.
Hey.
Do you like Car? I think Car is okay, so I'll check it out.
Car pretty good. Car go fast. Me make car go faster when me take suspension off. And then brake don't work. Returnal. It's a new franchise for Sony Worldwide Studios. It's developed by Housemarque. They exclusively do bullet hells. So that it being a third-person bullet hell makes a lot of sense. Looks really cool. Looks really unique, actually.
Looks cool. Dumb name.
Getting a really stupid fucking name. Have a lot of almost Kojima vibes coming off of it. I think that was the thing that everyone kept saying was anytime a weird trailer now comes out, they just go, is this Kojima? They just refuse to even acknowledge it could be any other developer trying to do something unique.
Kojimbo?
Is this the Kojimbles right now? Because that game's coming out again on PC next week.
I thought Death Stranding was out already. I've been seeing screenshots. Like that people take. Death Stranding comes out July 14th.
There you go. So 2 weeks. Cool. Definitely want to, or 3 weeks actually. Definitely want to come back to that game at some point. Square Enix had the audacity to announce that they are working on a new title. We were not going to see that. Girl Who Run. Do big fasts. Make tree plant.
She did.
Oh, and jump. Forgot jump.
She did
do a jump.
She did jump. That was early footage though. It may not be in the final game. So don't look
whatever that fucking thing was that we were talking about before, the other tech demo that we looked up with all the crazy
the really cool one.
The really cool like cyberpunk samurai shit going on.
The game they should have made, yeah.
Yeah, the game. I don't understand how that gets to that point in the conceptual phase where they create an entire tech demo around it and then do nothing with it conceptually afterwards. Yeah. I never get that. I never understand why it's never a situation. How are you going to create this thing that looks so fucking cool and then go, nah? There's obviously world building. There's totally a story behind this. Why is this not happening?
Maybe it's the Nintendo Switch chip in my neck that lets them know I liked it. And they're like, cancel it.
It's like with Agnes Philosophy. Like, when that came out, I thought, wow, this looks better than anything they've shown me so far. Like, why are we not working on this as a title? Like, I don't understand why we keep doing this thing where we're creating tech demos that end up having far more cooler and awesome prospects than the games that actually do come out. Stop this.
For those who are curious, it is the Visual Works character prototype trailer, and it's sick. It's on second thought, that's what it's called, and I highly recommend you don't watch it. Do not watch this video.
Unless you want to get really sad and look at something that's never going to happen. Hitman 3 coming in January 2021. Cool.
Those
you
games
have all the Hitmans,
are fun.
right?
I have Hitman 2. And I have I think I have Hitman 1 on PS4. Maybe. I don't know. I need to see if I can even run it without streaming. Because I don't think I can play that game and stream it. It is too pretty.
It is really pretty.
So I will run some tests, but I would like to stream it if I can.
Ooh, I would like to just play it.
Nothing has ruined my computer quite like Planet Coaster, so as long as it's not as intensive as Planet Coaster, I think I'll be all right.
I think we brought it up before, but shoutouts once again to Let's Game It Out. That guy is still coming out with worthwhile That man is so inventive. Every way he finds a way to break a new game, it's so good.
I have to imagine he sits in a Discord call. No one man could have all that power.
I don't know. He does it for hours at a time.
Yeah, or weeks sometimes.
And because of course it's the gift that keeps on giving, Grand Theft Auto 5 is coming to PS5 in 2021. Who knew? It's expanded and enhanced. So apparently more content is coming, and I think that at this point Rockstar has essentially revealed that there is no Grand Theft Auto 6. This is just going to be the platform they can continue to work on because it's the most successful video game platform of all time. Grand Theft Auto 5 is still making more money than Fortnite and everything else combined. Like, it is the most successful game ever.
I would like to thank Rockstar for ruining Stevie Wonder's Skeletons for me. I never want to hear that song again. I used to love that fucking song. And now every time I hear it, I'm like, oh, Grand Theft Auto 5's coming out again. Cool. Sorry.
No,
I'm glad Stevie Wonder isn't here to see this. Sackboy's going on an adventure.
Yeah,
he's gonna jump and grab things.
Gonna do that for sure.
Call me when Little Big Planet 4 comes out and it doesn't run at 2 frames per second, please.
Well, I mean, if anything, Dreams might have a PS5 version coming, but that's kind of up in the air.
Yeah, I've always described.
My friend, it's too intensive, really, so he feels like that's going to be like way down the pipeline.
I was gonna say Dreams always came across to me as one step too far for me personally. Like, I don't want to do Dreams. I don't want to make things in that. Little Big Planet was like just enough freedom where I'm like, okay, I can dip my toe in this and see what's going on. But Dreams, like, I don't know how that game works. I don't know how people make things in that game. And I'm
people
terrified
have like recreated
to look it up.
Fallout and like Final Fantasy VII remake,
and it has less bugs
than
wild. Fallout.
Yeah, it works.
Yeah.
Tango Gameworks showed the first game footage of Ghostwire Tokyo. I was not prepared for a first-person video game.
Neither was I, but it looks cool, so I'll play it for the cool things that are in it. I guess.
Don't know why Ikumi was just off the project. According to what everyone says about it, she just did her job and left.
Fair enough.
Okay, sure, good for her. Oddworld series continues with Oddworld Soulstorm. Can't stress this enough. The Oddworld is the coolest, aesthetically really neat, unique series of games I've never wanted to play. I've always wanted to get into them, but a part of me, every time I sit down and go, it's not really my thing. But I appreciate its existence. I liked Munch's Odyssey a lot. I thought Munch's Odyssey was really cool.
But cinematic platformers suck. Just make it a movie.
Oof. I'd watch it, though.
Send tweet.
Bug Snacks is the next game from the creators of Octodad, and it's weird as heck.
What if your apple was an ant?
What if you ate burger? You became burger.
French fry.
Onion
guy.
Dip.
Frito-Lay's barbecue twists are your friends. Or
turn me into a hot Cheeto.
Flaming hot. Man. I have no feelings about this, but it
Yeah,
that'll be a wacky, funny streamer game.
Okay, and then apparently at the end of the article, they just decided to go ahead and not. We don't give a shit about everything else.
They got bored, so they started.
Yeah, so Destruction All-Stars looks really cool. Was a trailer that started off like and just ended, and I was hyped. I don't know if everybody else is as hyped as I was.
It was it's parkour destruction derby. Cool.
That's great. Love it. Kena Bridge of Spirits looks really cool. It's I think I've talked about this before. I really want to go back to the old PS2 era of adventure games, but into like the modern day graphics, everything. It looks exactly like that. I'm very excited.
Yep.
Goodbye Volcano High.
It doesn't appear to be a video game, so I don't know what that's about.
Probably a visual novel.
Probably a cinematic platformer, and we are already at where we're at on those.
Jet the Far Shore. Don't even remember what that game was about.
Sure.
Godfall. Oh boy.
Who cares? Solar Ash.
Ooh,
Solar
Ash looks really
Ash.
good. Solar Ash looks really fucking
Do you like
good.
Hyper Light Drifter?
I do. I want to keep playing Hyper Light Drifter, and I keep telling myself I need to do it, and I just keep forgetting to start it up.
And then a whole bunch. I don't feel any. Do you feel strongly about?
Two of them.
Oh.
Little Devil Inside is a game that I've been trying to fucking play forever. It's finally coming out some point either this year or next year. Mm-hmm. And I'm very excited to finally see that game. It did get thrown into a little bit of hot water because of its less than stellar representations of because it takes place like in the 1900s.
Yeah.
So it's got like for savage characters, they have very racist interpretations of them.
Not a great look.
It is a Chinese company, so that makes sense. They don't have a whole lot of sensibility towards that. Not entirely their fault. They don't know any better, so we'll see how that gets figured out in the future. And then Deathloop.
Oh, yes, Deathloop. Dishonored, but with a good aesthetic.
Yes, very excited. Dishonored has such a confusing aesthetic, like, honestly.
It's gross fish town.
It's, hey, what if everything was powered by whale blubber? Wow, that sounds awful.
Wow.
Please stop.
Cthulhu Man-esque. Whatever his name was. Lovecraft.
The Outsider.
Lovecraft-esque.
Cthulhu Man.
Well, what the fuck? What else is he known for? Oh, yeah, racist guy. It's like the racist guy's world. Because then we'd be talking about Little Inside again.
Someone was talking about it, and it's like, honestly, H.P. Lovecraft, a lot of his writing was just inherently racist. It was just him being very afraid of brown people. And brown people and God. Two things he just couldn't get his fucking head wrapped around.
Yeah. Truly psychologically horrifying, I suppose. But yes, I'm looking very forward to Deathloop. I guarantee that game has asymmetrical multiplayer. I guarantee.
Oh yeah.
So
that's gonna be cool
to see how that works.
Really neat option. Okay, now that's done with that article. Let's see what we got here. Square is going to announce video games, believe it or not, at some point. They are going to have some kind of conference as well.
Please
very
look forward
excited for that.
It's going to be Tomb Raider and Avengers. Don't be all that excited. Lower your expectations immediately.
We're going to see the Project Athia trailer, and then Tetsuya Nomura is going to come on and talk about it for like a second.
He get attacked by the tree, and she do a big run then jump. It's going to be a musical. This time for real.
For real. Speaking of musical, Tetsuya Nomura throwing our girl Kairi under a bus. Why?
Here's your game, jackass.
And it's canon.
Of course it's canon.
It's always canon.
So Kingdom Hearts will have a rhythm game coming out called Who Gives a Shit, and it'll have songs in it. And you will play as Sora, Donald, and Goofy as you hit notes over the scene where Xion dies tragically. And then and Roxas forgets her in front of her. You will be hitting the notes, and Goofy will be like, "Oh, nice." I can't right now.
Oh, you got a perfect there.
Oh, perfect.
Gosh.
Great.
Gosh,
Great. Meanwhile, Ventus is like, Roxas, fuck, I don't even care anymore. I couldn't care less. The mobile game's getting a card game expansion. Who gives a shit? I don't.
I think after for those of you who haven't caught up on the lore, especially people who are going to be on the YouTube channel, I
have since played through
sat
Reminds
around, and
Limit
oh boy,
Cut, and I've seen the end, the true end, and I don't care anymore.
Which is absolutely fair.
I think Remind was good, and then Limit Cut was very bad. So, I don't care about your wacky rhythm game, Nomura, because I know it's probably going to be bad. Because it doesn't look like a good rhythm game either. Like, at the end of the day, like, I'll buy a rhythm game. I don't even care what it's about. But, like, am I going to buy the rhythm game and all of the costume DLC? No,
I just don't
that's only
buy
for
a
one
rhythm
series.
game endless runner, like, about a series where, honestly, a lot of the music, I kind of don't feel like is danceable anyway.
Yeah.
So it doesn't really...
Again,
like,
I already spent, like, $300 on the rhythm game based on an RPG series that I feel like deserved it. So I don't need to get this one. I'm good. That's
at least
right.
when those are canon, it's not as egregious.
That's right. I'm talking about DJ Maxx with its Guilty Gear DLC.
Oh no.
But yeah.
Fuck you, Nomura.
Tetsuya
Well, for
Nomura is
now,
going to play
well,
through his game.
Just keep working on 7.
Yeah,
just
we'll
kinda
see.
Well, just keep working on 7. Speaking of we'll see, Cyberpunk anime from Studio Trigger coming in 2022.
So 2023 for Americans.
Yeah. Why did you say that out loud even?
Because it's going to be on Netflix, so you're going to have to wait.
Very excited that I'm glad that they're actually looking, because so what they're trying to do is they're trying to release the single player portion of this game, and then we've been told about a multiplayer version of Cyberpunk, which I think a lot of people are basically like, it's going to be or as close to the GTA Online, but hopefully with like a better everything about it.
Yeah.
And that I'm very excited for. I think I'm more excited for that potential multiplayer component now that I am the single player component after watching the most recent trailer.
Yeah.
Because I saw that trailer and I saw the prologue and I'm like, you know what? I'm at the point where I need to see the rest of the game. It's like, if you're not going to show me at least the middle section of it, I want to see samurai sword gameplay. I want to see how that factors in. I want to see what, like, a lot more than just the main prologue mission we've been watching over and over and over again.
So my stance was, if I'm not playing Danganronpa, I don't want to be a detective. I don't want to do any detective shit ever. I don't want to. I don't want to be a detective in my character action game. I don't want to be a detective in my crazy future first-person shooter game where you turn into a robot crab. I don't want to be a detective. And guess what? The detective mode they showed in Cyberpunk, it's pretty crazy. They gave you a pause button. Wow.
Fast forward.
I don't care. I went to movie college. Fast forwarding things, that's not like interesting to me. I've seen a video timeline. I edit things. So
I think the cool thing that they've done, before we shit on this entirely, is the fact that it's like, you, instead of sitting there and just looking in the environment and getting your answer, you have to like force the people who are in the brain dance essentially, and then look around the environment to see if there are cameras that you can hack into, and then use the footage from that to figure out things like, okay, who killed the person that flatlined in this BD video, as it were. I think that's really cool, and that's like a because it means that there's just definitely going to be more about exploring the environment and less about the kind of sort of like how Detroit did it. Honestly,
yeah, I didn't like that either, but at least that was a movie. At least we were watching it as a movie, and you played as a detective.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna play Cyberpunk as an intelligent detective. I'm gonna play it as a robot crab man, climbing on the ceiling. Like, I don't have time to look at cameras. There's surely someone smarter than me that could do that.
And I'm almost positive the game will give you the ability to do that.
And if I can circumnavigate it all, that's totally fine.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I'm actually getting less and less hype about Cyberpunk the closer it comes, just because of the fact that I need to just play it now.
Yeah.
I just need to have it in my hands and then see the world and actually see if it's not going to have the same problem that Fallout 4 has, where the sort of timed responses or the lack of, the inclusion of voice. Because I didn't feel that with The Witcher, but I also feel like The Witcher is just far more slower paced by comparison, even though there are timed responses in that game.
Mm-hmm.
but there was a lot more almost always, whereas opposed to like the small bits and pieces of footage I've seen of Cyberpunk, you're like given like 2 to 3 options maybe, and they're almost always hit, don't hit, and then say a thing snark. Because snark. That's about it. And I was like, kind of want to know if this fucking game is going to have anything interesting to say about the Cyberpunk future. I don't know if that's going to be the case. I think that there was a lot of really interesting things that happened within the writing with The Witcher 3, and I'm very excited to see if that ends up kind of translating over to Cyberpunk. But like, I don't want it to just be Johnny Mnemonic. I want to have like an actual transhumanism like conversation in that game.
Yeah.
Like I want the discourse from Deus Ex a little bit, but with the gameplay that I'm seeing in Cyberpunk, where it's like I get to be the super cool Cyberman. And I get to do a bunch of other things like on top of that instead of just having to kind of like skulk around the environment. Because otherwise, I'll just play Deus Ex if that's the case.
Yeah.
If I need a Cyberpunk RPG, I'll just keep playing Deus Ex over and over again.
I should
really like that game
because I really liked what I played at Human Revolution and
Mankind Divided.
Mankind Divided. I was going to call it Human Divided, which I suppose is what you do, but is not what the game is called. Yeah, I don't know. I'd like to clarify my stance. I think the detective thing is dumb. I think what you do in Watch Dogs is sick, though. If you can do the stuff you're doing in detective mode in Cyberpunk as part of like infiltration and hacking stuff and jumping between camera to a dude's brain to his pet robot dog to a computer, like that's cool if it's in like present time. It's the looking back thing where I'm like, I just put in a cutscene. I don't care.
What I want is I want the Watch Dogs 2 thing where you can go through an entire segment of an area and never set foot there.
Yeah.
I think if Watch Dogs can do it, fucking Cyberpunk can do it.
Can and should.
Especially it should, because like if you're a net runner and you have access to buildings, cameras and shit and can hack into people's vision and shit, why wouldn't you be able to do stuff like that? Why can't I just have an entire gameplay loop in an open world RPG game that I can do this like I can in like a quote unquote samey open world Watch Dogs? It's just like everything I've ever played. Fuck you, Watch Dogs 2 is amazing.
Watch Dogs 2 is very good. I think that Cyberpunk 2079 is going to be where all your interesting transhuman stuff is going to be.
Maybe.
And the last thing I'll say about Cyberpunk is that, yay, Studio Trigger is making an anime for Cyberpunk. I don't know if Cyberpunk is crazy and over the top enough for Studio Trigger. And that's not a knock on Cyberpunk and a praise of Studio Trigger. It's that Studio Trigger tends to do better work with more over the top stuff. And
that's why I'm hoping that the writing staff is still working hand in hand with Trigger.
But even then, like animation-wise, like, is it going to be like a Trigger show, or is it going to be more subdued, like a Darling in the Franxx thing?
Have you seen the picture?
I mean, yeah,
they do have the one picture, yeah, and
just
it looks
make the
pretty
game
Trigger.
Like that.
Oh man, you want to see something that like is really fucking frustrating, and I go, I mean, I understand why they didn't do it.
Cyberpunk 2077 triggers liberals. It's not what I was looking for.
I'm gonna share it to you right now, and then we're gonna watch it after the stream.
Sure.
I'm gonna share it to you right now. The Valorant Duelist trailer, and I want and like you've seen how just absolutely generic that art style seems.
Yes.
And I want you to just like look at this trailer, and just for everybody at home, do your homework as well. It's called the Valorant Duelist trailer, and the idea that this game or that this trailer looks as cool as it fucking does, and this game doesn't look anywhere near that, is so frustrating, because I think that we have systems that allow us to run games like this.
This is almost an art style. This is really cool.
Oh, so you're watching it right now. Yeah. So yeah, this is like, I think that games can absolutely run in real time and look like this. I've seen them do shit like this before. I understand why they didn't do it, because they wanted the whole idea with Valorant is they want decades old PCs to be able to play this.
You're right. A cel-shaded first-person shooter would never be able to run on decades-old hardware. Especially not a class-based one.
Not the way that this looks, though. I don't think it's able to run.
But
no.
You could get it close. You could try.
Yeah. You could try, but this looks way cooler, and I don't understand why games aren't trying to look like this more so. And I really do. I think it's the idea that we're trying to always make every single thing run on every piece of hardware is honestly holding like art style back. And like, there's a whole conversation that can be had about like, you know what, photorealism fucking sucks. Art style is where it's at. Every single fucking step of the way. It's like, if you can make a game look and play really cool, as opposed to just being like, wow, these photorealistic subsurface reflections are gonna completely just gonna gloss over them because, okay, I guess it's real looking.
I don't want to see the sweat come out of the pore. I don't want to see it. That's gross. Make them a cool cartoon man.
Yeah.
Make them do a
flip. Just more. It's so much more impressive and visually striking to see like people do cartoonish things with like next generation graphics, because it's just like, all right, so we know that we can make like photorealism happen, but
photorealism is cool if the setting it's in is not real,
right?
Then it's really cool. But I don't want to see it. I can fucking go outside and look at a tree. Who gives a shit?
Yeah, it's fucking annoying as shit, honestly. But yeah, I think that's it for the good news. I'm looking over here.
I know it doesn't come across as good considering every sentence we've said for about 15 minutes now.
Well, I guess
Fortnite's out. How can you say there's no more good news?
Hey,
Fortnite is finally coming out. You can play Fortnite right now.
Save the world. It's happening, everybody. The one game mode that nobody played, the one that was easily forgettable, even when I played it back in 2012. Like,
it does not matter how many times I am told that Fortnite has like a PvE mode. I will forget. I will forget by the end of this podcast. Guaranteed.
So when I first played Save the World, it was back. My friends got me a Founders Pack essentially for it a while ago. And we were playing it, and it felt dated then. And I remember turning around and going, you know, these building mechanics, they feel like it's capitalizing off of the Minecraft craze at the time. I was like, this is fine, but nothing about this world is incredibly interesting to me. Nothing about what's happening is interesting to me. Like it, and the characters and everything it doesn't. I don't give a shit about anything that's happening. Also, shooting doesn't feel good. That's the one thing they did adopt, is that shooting still doesn't feel good in Fortnite, no matter which side of the game you play. But it is out of early access, so Fortnite is a real video game.
Thank God. Now they can start making money off it.
Yeah.
I'd like to give a special thank you, because just as the final point on art styles, I want to give a special thank you to Fortnite for ruining art direction for at least the next decade. For at least the next decade. Every game is going to look like fucking Fortnite.
Because it runs on every system. That's how it works. That's how video games are nowadays. It's
but
like,
even the design of faces and the way characters look, that's not like a system limitation thing. It just looks like it's the, what did we decide on? The DreamWorks. It's the Illumination Studios,
the DreamWorks
style. Like,
whereas like 2D art has the quote unquote CalArts art style. 3D art is the DreamWorks interpretation.
I think DreamWorks has done some creative stuff. I think Illumination fits so much better.
I don't know what has Illumination done.
I don't. Despicable Me, I think, and emojis.
Oh,
whatever.
Yeah,
that one.
Yeah,
Mario pretty soon.
Oh God. I hate it. Speaking of games that are doing that we hate, they're doing the very opposite of releasing. Remember, I don't know if you remember this old shooter called Crucible.
No.
Okay. Well, there was a shooter that Amazon released called Crucible for about like a month, and apparently it bombed so fucking hard they unreleased it. They decided if anyone's still playing, you're fine, But if anyone wants to play again, you're gonna have to sign up for the closed beta because obviously this game is not ready for release.
Where do I get Crucible? What do I even play this on?
So Crucible was on Steam and it was released sometime, and I want to say either May or June, and I played a round.
Oh,
and the idea of it was one of the two modes essentially that they had was a sort of battle royale-esque mode where you could team up with people randomly on the map and then betray them if you wanted to at the end, which I thought that's cool. I don't know why no one else has done that yet.
Mm-hmm.
But that's about it, because essentially the game, the main gameplay mode is this sort of PvE/PvP game where the idea is you control nodes, you kill enemies, and then occasionally get into like these overdrawn PvP fights. None of it was good. None of it felt good. All of the character designs. I
was about to say
at
these character designs. They got the cat from Biomutant in here. That's a cool crossover character. Can I tell you how fucking sick I am of the cute robot that isn't a fighter being one of your classes? It's a cute robot. Don't make it fight. It even says Bug, the happy botany unit. Why is he shooting anything? He should be tending to a garden.
Yeah.
Every class-based anything, you have to have a cute robot that is like a healer or, just wants to play with a butterfly. He's holding a butterfly. I just noticed that.
Yeah, you gotta have the cute little character. Because the cat's not gonna cut it. The cat has to be a snarky asshole now because of Rocket Raccoon.
Yeah, and the one that shot jars. Not Paragon.
What?
Paladins.
What?
There's the cat that shoots jars.
What the fuck are you talking about?
Doesn't Paladins have a character that shoots jars and is a cat? Or
I'm gonna look up on Google Paladin's cat who shoots jars.
Yeah. It's real.
I don't see it.
He sucks. Remember?
Hold on. Paladin cat. Paladins.
Pip.
All I see is Maeve.
Pip.
Oh, Pip.
Isn't he a cat? What is this thing? He's like a squirrel. I don't know.
Oh, I don't. What? Oh, okay. He didn't.
He shoots
jars, you silly asshole. It was a grenade.
It was a jar.
It was not a jar.
Look at this first ability icon. It's a jar.
Oh, it's a flask. Okay.
Oh, okay. Now it's a flask. I'll tell you what. We'll go to IKEA, and me and you, we'll just name things so you can name the more containers.
All right, relax.
Go to the container store. Hey, do you guys got the one that the cat from Paladins shoots? And we'll just see what they say, and that'll settle.
It's a flask.
Yeah, first of all, it's a flask, and they're in aisle 6.
Yeah. All right. Well, there we go.
Well, the point is that what was the news story? Oh, right. Paladins has a new hero. I think they have a knife. I don't know.
I feel really bad for Amazon. I'm pretty sure the same thing's going to happen again. I mean, not the company, fuck the company, but the people who have the unfortunate
double helix
idea.
Wherever you are in the Amazon void. I hope you're okay. Wherever you ended up dissolved,
oh my God.
maybe.
I just feel really fucking terrible for people who always consistently work for these just shit tier companies that are absolutely just trying to put, like, they're throwing shit at a wall, just seeing what sticks.
Guys, we just
I'm almost positive. Yeah, well, I mean, what the fuck? No, like, because that's what happened with Paragon, right? Is like they tried to fix that game 300 times and it just never worked. Never worked. And that could be due to a number of reasons, but I'm almost assuredly it's almost always management. So I don't know. I don't know what they could do to make that game more fun. I think the first thing I can think of in my head is like, why aren't games just faster? Why do games have to be these like slow trotting esports fucking centric game? CS:GO. If you don't run faster than you do in CS:GO, you're fucking up. You're fucking up, especially if your maps are like obscenely huge like they were in Crucible, and I'm going very, very slow sprinting. then I don't understand why you even did this.
It makes people anxious when they move too fast or too cool, so they have to walk and maybe jump. And that's it. You're not allowed to do anything else.
Hate it.
Titanfall is scary. That's a horror game for some players. Well, thank you for reminding me that Amazon makes quote-unquote games.
Yeah. They made something.
I'm excited for that game to go into alpha.
I want the game to regress. Just continuously
the
go
Benjamin
back
Button of video games. Just totally in reverse.
Can we bring a game towards cancellation? Let's try. Let's do it. So Capcom made it. I guess they were in a call the other day. There were investors relations. They were talking to some people, and they said, we are intending on making the next Monster Hunter game to be more for middle school and high school students.
Wow.
Which, as many people have, I put it as baby game, but as they have said it, according to what people are saying on the comments, Capcom considers the mobile gaming crowd to be the middle school, high school demographic. So expect the next big Monster Hunter to be on the Switch. They said there are no plans to bring the Monster Hunter World to Switch, but they are looking to develop a new Monster Hunter.
Okay, so imagine, though, like a Yoshi's Woolly World, but like it's Monster Hunter, and the monsters are plushes. Like they're giant plushy monsters.
That's really cool. I'm glad it's never going to happen.
Yeah.
I'm glad that we keep coming up with way better ideas.
It's like Origami Hunter.
Oh.
Also, for shame, in the time between podcasts, you have not been practicing your segues, because what I was going to do is, speaking of future failed shooters, Ubisoft is coming out with a Battle Royale
game. No. This fucking game just comes out of nowhere. Go ahead.
So I don't care about shooters, typically. But the two things that have me interested in this one is, one, Twitch integration, because I always like it when an outside force can just fuck everything up. I'm a big fan of that as a feature. And then also, I would like a cool, stylized Battle Royale game that doesn't have building in it, which this seems to be. So I will try exactly one game of this if it's free. But if it's not, then I won't try it at all.
It's going to have an open... So the game is called Hyperscape, and essentially it is a Battle Royale game set in some sort of VR space. And it is made by the Rainbow Six team, so it should feel good to play.
That's good.
And it looks like there's going to be, from the small bits and pieces we've seen of screenshots, it looks like there's going to be some kind of parkour vibe as well.
That seems
so cool. If there's vertical movement, like you said, I think that more... If you're going to make a Battle Royale game, you have to add something that isn't building. You have to give people the same amount of like crazy vertical movement that the building allows without doing that. Because I feel like if I have to adopt an entirely new skill set just to play your video game, which is why it's always like astounded me that people are like that Fortnite has garnered the success it has, because it has the largest barrier of entry I think I've ever seen in a Battle Royale game.
I know that my sister sucks shit and doesn't win anything, but the idea that she can even play it. Meanwhile, I'm like, I don't know, build a wall? You make a square and then a ceiling, and then you jump onto the ceiling to go up?
Yeah,
like
it's so much work.
My brain around it.
It's so much work, and I get the idea. I think from a gameplay development standpoint, it's very cool that you can make your own literal structures, so you guys can have like fights in the sky and shit. And it's like, that's really neat. But my brain doesn't work that way, and the fact that tons and tons of like millions of people played this game, which is why I've always sat there and I said that like if Fortnite is going to be anything more than I think it's as a social platform, it's way cooler in concept, because it has so many different fucking things that you can do in it. We did the stream on the Fortnite concerts a while back, and that was interesting to say the least. I enjoyed it. I thought it was really cool. But I'm also the kind of person who really enjoys the idea of just fucking around in a lobby setting with friends.
Yeah.
It's half the reason why PSO2 is really fun, is just sitting in a lobby and just bullshitting with people.
Please look forward to the VR chat stream, which will most assuredly be the last stream ever on the channel.
Oh man, I really like that. I like the idea of games being utilized as social spaces, and I think that Fortnite trying to break into that to the point where they now apparently they showed Inception in the movie theater, and like a makeshift movie theater in the game, Inception, and a bunch of other fucking Christopher Nolan films, because Nolan's a fucking hack and doesn't know what he's doing half the time.
The thing I don't understand is, like, I still don't get how those work. Like, the music video one, so you just go into matchmaking at the right time and you're like a part of it, right?
No, so it was a separate music thing. It was a separate queue.
Okay.
Because essentially it was the island itself was different than the traditional island you see on the, but like I don't know how the concert worked for the Travis Scott concert. I think that was queuing up into a particular like map.
Because all I can think about is like, man, that must be 100 of the nicest players ever to like sit through a 2 to 3 hour movie and not be like, wow, this is gonna be the easiest victory royale anyone's ever fucking gotten.
Right.
3 grenades, and all of a sudden I got my turkey, my chicken dinner.
It is just really strange, because I don't know how they did the Travis Scott concert. I think it's similar, where I think, well, what they ended up doing actually, so the way that they did the Travis Scott concert, because it was a lot more involved, was it ends with you up in the air already.
Yeah.
So that it restarts the match, so you can play the normal match.
Fair enough.
So it's like oh, then it just drops you back into, like, you start dropping wherever you want to go after that point, and then play the game. I was like, that's fine, but like the way they did it with the concerts for, like, essentially it was live streamed, right? And then what they did was, it was just basically like a drive-in thing where you show up and the entire island is set up to look like a festival area. And I know you haven't been in like a festival, but you've been like cons and shit like that. It's sort of like, well, I mean, it's not.
I've like seen a photo, you know. I've heard.
Yeah, but like. Yeah, but like it's different from like what I'm saying is, like, they got the vibe down really well.
Oh, that's good.
Like they definitely fucking they made it feel like it was an actual music festival, and I thought it was really cool. And I guess I just really appreciate it more so as a platform. So whatever this game ends up being, I think it's definitely just what I will say is that Ubisoft has shown an incredible track record of, even if the game fails miserably, boy howdy will they just put everything into it until the game is either playable
or good
or good. And that's great. I think that's super cool. And I think that if there's a developer that I would 100% think can do it, and like, because like going back to like the Bless Online thing, like, how do you know when to fucking just win the cards, when to fold them?
Yeah,
like that's the point where you should probably know. Ubisoft just has the money, has the time, has the effort to put into stuff like that. And I think that they a lot of their general funding and investments are more about keeping a strong fan base that is happy for the most part, as opposed towards just, you know, trying to consistently expand and grow like EA and Activision always do, where they have to push the fucking AAA walls down and make it impossible to work for them. Whereas Ubisoft, I think, even though they are still a big evil publisher company, are still technically the best when it comes to how they approach game development. So.
I think I figured out how they do it too. I think I figured out how they can actually manage to support games that have released to like lukewarm to bad like sales and or game states.
Hit me with it. Hit me with it.
I can't imagine it costs more than like $45 to make a Just Dance game, and those things sell fucking gangbusters. So if you just sell a Just Dance game once a year to like a couple million soccer moms for their kids, then you can fund whatever the fuck you want. Doesn't matter if the game releases to not a success.
Well, it's like the Epic Game Store thing, right? Where it's like Epic has all this fucking Fortnite money. They might as well. They also have all the Unreal money. They might as well just start funneling it into like their own things, or like grabbing things and being like, here, let me just throw money at a wall and hopefully it'll stick somewhere.
Yeah, but I very much look forward to playing Hyperscape 3 years after it comes out on a Steam sale, when the game is fixed and good.
I will play it on stream when it comes out on open beta.
I'll try
July
the
12th.
beta. July 12th? Oh, that's pretty soon.
Yeah, it's pretty soon.
No, I'll try it.
It was apparently going to be announced. Like it was going to be, I think, a shadow drop during the Ubisoft conference. You know what I mean? Like, hell, go sign up for it now. Let's see you play it today, kind of thing.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I'm leaving this one to you.
I don't know,
How are you gonna get us there? How are you gonna get us to one of these?
Let me think. No. Speaking of sad possible failures, Mixer. Oh no. Oh boy.
Oh man.
So to nobody's surprise outside
I was
of
gonna
Mixer,
say Ubisoft isn't the only company looking to mix things up. Mixer shuts down and lets go everybody.
Literally get out the front door. You don't have to stay here, or you don't have to go home, but you can't stay here.
Yeah.
So
can go
Mixer
to Facebook
announced a while ago that like 2 or 3 weeks ago, essentially, that they're just like, they're done. They're not gonna try to do this thing anymore. They got really
bored.
They got bored. It's not working. It doesn't matter how much money they poured into people like Shroud and Ninja, who reportedly had, I think Ninja's plan was confirmed to be 30 million, and Shroud is confirmed to be 10 million for their sign-on contracts. Essentially, they get to keep their money and they get to go back to wherever they want to. So but like, as for everybody else, who all the smaller kind of
ground floor
lesser known, the people who actually made, so like, this is what I was talking about before. It's like, there's actually a group of people who were partners and were making a suitable living off of Mixer. A good example would be this sort of like literally a mom and dad centric channel. It's a very family oriented channel. It looks very, very cute. I forget what it was called. I retweeted it some other day, but like, they were one of the people affected by it, where they had to thankfully they talked to some Twitch people, and they were able to get a Twitch partnership and essentially start moving towards Twitch and get everything on the ground running. But there were totally people who created communities on Mixer that are now just not there anymore. I mean, they have like a month, right? From what I'm told, they have a month before it's all gone.
Their new Twitch channels.
Yeah, but after that, like, if nobody shows up, that's it. You have to go back to the fucking drawing board, and for some people that might not just be enough. So there are people who were not necessarily making a killing, but like a living. You know what I mean? Like they were content creators in their own right, and now so many of them are kind of terrified because just the concept of like, it's like, so people who made the choice to go to Mixer made that choice completely out of for a reason, because a lot of the streaming platforms that have existed, like the YouTube gaming, Facebook gaming, and mainly Twitch, as we are here now, have all unless you're not on YouTube, whatever, have all had their massive problems that Mixer kind of alleviated and solved for them. So it's in the same vein that we see a lot of our friends in the Discord when we talk about like, hey, let's do this thing. Oh, do I have to install a new launcher? Then no, I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
And more often than not, I think that there's going to be some people who just flat out stop like viewing the content because they're just like, well, you're not on a platform I don't either just disagree with, or I just don't want to use, or don't have to keep using or anything like that. Like a really good example is like our stream itself. A lot of us are really dependent more on like the Discord announcements more so than we are our Twitter announcements, because while there is a lot of people on our Twitters that follow us, for whatever reason, they will respond to all of our polls, but they won't show up. And I don't know if that's just a timing thing.
That is a totally different thing. I think people just like voting in polls.
Yeah.
I literally think it's as simple as you see the poll, and I don't even care what it's about. I'm clicking one of these. I want to see what the other one's like. I want to see what everybody else says, so I'll just pick a random one. It's like, I don't fucking care about. Not another podcast is back. What the hell is that? Fuck that shit. That shit sounds terrible.
Fuck that show. Another one. What? Put that back.
It's the same guy in the comments is like, Max is talking about anime again. Click off. Unsubscribe. That's not Lyle. Get him out of here. Who's this guy?
Oh my god. Or you masquerading as me during streams? Like, oh, please.
That's consistently my favorite thing to do.
I hate that.
There's two halves on the icon. There's two different faces. If you can't guess which one it is, then I'm not going to correct you. That's rude. The customer's always right, Phil.
Fuck that. I don't think it's that hard. I really don't think it's that hard. I don't think our voices are similar.
I don't think it's that hard either, but you know what? People can believe what they want to believe, you know? Find your own truth. Reach out to it.
This is a massive problem. I really hate the fact that, like, I mean, we knew it was coming. Everyone kind of understood that, like, Mixer was on the fucking downswing. No matter how hard they tried, it's wild that it was so sudden. The idea that it wasn't even like a just gradual decline.
Yeah.
And it just literally came out of nowhere, and pretty much anyone who had the audacity to adopt their platform is getting just tremendously fucked. Is wild.
It is something that you need to accept as a possibility if you are trying to be like there at the ground floor for any startup. It's like, this could all fall out one day, but it doesn't make it any less sad when it does.
Yeah, 100%.
And yeah, it sucks. My stance on it is it sucks because I feel like Mixer straight up had better options for like just streams in general, like universal quality controls all the time for everybody, which is crazy, and low latency streams and stuff like that. And it's a lot of technology that, man, I wish they maybe put some money into that, and they're consistent streamers instead of just trying to buy other streamers from bigger platforms. That's crazy. It's like when you dump a lot of money into a really popular thing on a different platform, it actually doesn't bring in enough people. You're actually not David taking down the Goliath. You're just splitting things up pointlessly.
Well, a good example of that would be like what we talked about before.
I was like, where
no, you're good. You're good. I'm sorry. So a good example would be like we talked about earlier with Ubisoft and how they handle development. It's like very, very easily, most people will take it and go, let's make a sequel and just do that. Fuck this game that failed. We'll just do it better in the next one. Ubisoft will sit there and stick with it and work with it and do everything it can
I was talking
to make
about
it work.
Epic. I was specifically referring to Epic Game Store buying exclusives in the sense it's like, man, I wish you had just put that money into making your platform better, and then I would try it.
Except it's working, though. That's a difference.
I suppose. As soon as they started offering the games for free. If they didn't offer games for free, then it wouldn't be working.
Look, it really just comes down to a point where it's like I've made my complaint about Epic Game Store, but now that it's just an inevitable problem that we're gonna have to deal with at this point. Whereas, like, whether or not, because this is the sort of same problem that happened with Steam when it first released, where Steam was kind of a mess for years, and then a massive overhaul was done, and then the game, and just, it's literally the goddamn, like, it's almost mandatory to have Steam on your computer if you want to play video games.
Yeah.
So I feel like that with the way that Epic has been working and with the amount of money that they have and the amount of things that they're trying to invest, there's really not a whole lot they can do other than just we will see a massive turnaround on the Epic Game Store for it to work. But yeah, but just going back to like Mixer, I mean, yeah, no, it's just a shame because essentially what this essentially proves to us is that it's almost impossible to. It really is true. The way that kind of unfettered capitalism essentially works is that if people want just the one thing, they're going to stick with it, and that's sort of the downside towards having the one thing where we go, yeah, it's really cool to have all of the things that we want centralized, like we were speaking about with the anime thing, where it's like, hey, having Verve just made it so much easier back in the day. The problem is that essentially if that one thing doesn't have to work hard for your money. So now instead of sitting there and offering a better service, they are just going to go ahead and can kind of rest in their laurels and just continue to down the same path of destruction that they have been, which Twitch has consistently shown us.
Well, that's not
they
a
don't
Verve,
know what the fuck's happening.
That's not a Verve thing. That was 100% Sony is the reason why you cannot get all your emails.
But what
you're saying is if left unchecked, it could do.
If left unchecked, right. So it's like. It was like Netflix. So Netflix was unchecked for so long, and Netflix didn't really have to better itself. It just kind of, spread itself out to more platforms. And now, now I guess the only thing that's really defining anybody nowadays is the originals that are available on all the streaming platforms, and that's literally it. Like it's just what shows do you actually watch and like? Whereas with the streaming thing, it just comes down to it should be who's treating who better, but it's not. And it should be who's like what's better for exposure, and it's not, because essentially because Twitch is the way it is, and because so many people have associated Twitch with it just being the streaming game platform. I mean, they can do whatever the fuck they want.
It really is as simple as like I already watched like a couple of live streams, not too many, because like I've said many times, I think watching people play video games is pointless and dumb. But there are a couple that I have seen. Why would I go over to Mixer, where I don't know anybody who streams on that, to look around when I already have so much content on Twitch that I can look through? Here is the strategy I came up with, sitting here just now. Mixer should not have bought Ninja and Shroud. Mixer should have bought Fortnite. Mixer should have bought streaming rights to Fortnite. Could you imagine? The Fortnite streams are not allowed on Twitch anymore. Ever. You have to stream Fortnite on Mixer. Let Epic Games Store buy Mixer. And that Fortnite has to be there. Now Epic can get all revenue from ads that Mixer would be getting. That was the move.
Yeah, but
that's the move. They fucked up.
That's a move for sure, but like I wonder if I just wonder if that's the kind of thing where it wouldn't work out or translate as well as we think. Because because that essentially just means that, like, I don't even know how that would work, considering the way that streaming works now, right? We're just like, because you can just press the share button on your console, and now that can just be tied to your Twitch account.
But
Mixer.
But I was gonna say, it already says like you can't stream during this scene if Fortnite is running. Just have your console go, okay, what's your Mixer sign-in? You go, no, my Twitch. And they go, okay, what's your Mixer sign-in? They would get, right at this moment, a 104,000 viewer shot in the arm. And one guy who is not playing Fortnite. I don't know what the fuck game this even is.
This is absolutely a very... that's totally a strategy that could work. It just doesn't seem very feasible.
Well,
it seems like the biggest, hardest gamble I've ever seen in my entire life.
Mixer buying Fortnite is dumb, but Epic Store buying Mixer and collecting, that's what Epic should have done.
Right, but what I'm saying is I think it's just because of the ease of access is what makes the Fortnite stream so much more viable, because there are way more Fortnite streamers out there than there are streamers of like other things. It's like the same thing with like League of Legends, is because of the fact that you can share it. Just so many people are trying to like stream it and trying to do this. That it's just easier for them to get on it. Whereas like if you'd force somebody into a situation where it's like you can only see this game on this platform, I almost feel like it's a death knell for that game.
I don't think Fortnite could wipe out half of America, and it would be directly Fortnite's fault. And my sister would still be playing that fucking game. She's playing it right. I guarantee if I call her right now, she's playing Fortnite.
Oh no!
I'm gonna do it. You know what?
Go ahead.
I'm gonna give her a call.
Do it live on stream.
I'm gonna do it. You know, what the fuck's her name again? Hold on. Give me.
Here we go. The live stream call outs, ladies and gentlemen.
1 sec.
All right, do your thing. Do your thing while I figure out how to finagle a segue into any of these conversation.
I have a quick question. Are you home right now? You're not? Damn it.
Damn, got him.
I made a bet that at this very moment you'd be playing Fortnite, and I was wrong. So. Yeah, I'm on the podcast right now, and I said there is absolutely zero chance that you're not playing Fortnite right now.
Oh my god! Oh my god! Are you for real? The one night? God damn it! Again.
The one night, she says, though.
Oh, okay. Well, that's fine.
I'm so sorry, Max. Max, but like this offer is not going anywhere, and when I get home.
No, I don't want to play Fortnite. That's not. I'm hanging up. We're done. I love you. I'll talk to you later. I was on
the Well, there it is, folks. Fortnite.
There it is. I knew it. I knew it. At least, you know what? Better than I was expecting.
Works out.
Yeah.
Hey, you know,
unlike
again,
Mixer.
Unlike Mixer. Also, it seems like Microsoft is continuously preparing to take the massive L, as apparently Phil Spencer has confirmed he doesn't really expect people to buy.
Is it an L anymore? If it's a forfeit, is it an L?
I don't know if he's forfeiting or if he's doing some fucking light Yagami fucking style conniving, some Machiavellian fucking problem solving that it like just requires this just immense back down where he shows up and he goes, video games are saved. Like, and that's it. And it was all Xbox. According to the article, essentially it's more about that Phil Spencer's trying to kind of remove Xbox as like just a console-centric platform and use it as like an actual brand more so, and like transition it more towards it just being a video game brand. So at that point, if the Xbox Series X ends up going the way of the dinosaur this time around, we could very well be seeing the advent of like a new Sega, right? Like a new, like, and that's obviously like a pretty fucking bold statement to make immediately before we even get into the next generation. But I mean, it seems ridiculous to me that Phil Spencer, every single time that the thing that's supposed to be bad, that's supposed to like tank companies, he goes, it's all right, I guess.
This is the equivalent to Phil Spencer being one of the giant rectangles at Sele. And he's saying, listen, we'll sacrifice the Series X so that we can go and live on in the big Xbox cloud flying through space. That will be the new arc for Microsoft.
Is the X Cloud really the next step in the human instrumentality project?
The X Cloud is Shinji's mom in a T-pose flying through space, yes. That is exactly what I'm saying. You just got a notification for your invite. I sent it. Do you want to turn into goo now, or do you want to wait for the podcast to end first?
Let's give it a minute, you know. Let's relax and figure this out step by step. There's a lot to go through.
Well, step one, we gotta find the lance of Longinus. It should still be in Christ. The center of the Dead Sea.
The one where it's like, is the Dead Sea with all the salt or none of the salt?
That's the.
Is it? So the Dead Sea is the one that has so much salt or something where it's going to kill people.
It is a salt lake.
Yeah. All right.
It's the one where you just float, which is kind of how water works typically, but you float more. So
the Lance of Longinus is at the bottom of that. That sounds terrifying.
Try swimming down. You can't, because you go float back up.
I always consistently say this, but like my biggest fear in life is just somebody found a way to go down and they found something that we weren't supposed to find. That just wasn't. I 100% fucks with the notion that if there was ever an ancient civilization and they just fucking entombed something, my biggest fear is one idiot in a fucking like marine diver that can just somehow withstand pressure of millions of pounds of pressure accidentally moves a rock and suddenly the planet itself begins to unfurl into a monster. And that's
it'll be the Lance. I'm telling you. That shit's happening right now.
Wasn't there an initiative to get like in Japan they were trying to launch some sort of figurative lance of Longinus towards the moon? I'm almost positive that was a thing.
That's true.
No, there was totally a petition or something being done a while back where someone was trying to launch a real lance of Longinus.
No.
Fuck it. Fuck the moon. I love anime. Can you imagine being the guy on that flight? Just like, I can't believe this meme shit.
I'm the
fucking
Lance.
We're gonna be furthering humanity but through fucking memes. This is the worst.
Oh my god. No. So many jokes. We need to watch the rest of Rebuild.
We really do.
Let me tell you, don't get too attached to the moon. No, not this time.
Not this time.
I'd like to take Persona 4 Golden's release just to tell everybody, hey, stop spoiling shit for no reason. Like, for no reason. Just knock it off. Just quit it.
Quit that shit.
The amount of time I've seen a tweet, it's like, oh, man, I really like this character. And then the comments like, oh, wow, no, you don't. It's like, oh, great. Why did you even comment that? Don't do that.
Speaking of people who shouldn't be so attached to platforms, Twitch just fucking flat out taking Dr. Disrespect out behind the back door, firing away.
No.
This old yellering his entire account. They refunded all his subs. They refunded every single sub.
And no, it's not for the 30 reasons you're probably thinking.
Yeah.
It's for the 31st reason that no one knows. It's a big question mark mystery.
So okay. So here's, I think I'm going to go ahead and do the encapsulation of the giant, the bullshit that's been happening around lately.
Sure.
Because we also have that somewhere on there. I think I speak for both Max and myself when I say the amount of craziness that's been going on with the new sort of resurgence of the Me Too movement within the streaming and the content creation world. I have said time and time again that it is incredibly important to not necessarily just believe the accuser, but to give them the benefit of the doubt and assume that they're not just trying to fucking just run over people's lives, that there is a situation in which something happened. And yes, evidence and all these things, and all these all matter. But at the end of the day, we support people who they come forward with their stories because I've said about it. I've said it 100 times. It's always really frustrating for me kind of waking up, excuse me, it's always really frustrating for me kind of waking up and realizing that there are so many women that I know personally that all have a story, all have a sexual harassment story, all have a sexual, like a rape story. Like it's almost everyone that I know. So the idea that there is this once again, the resurgence of people who are like, oh, we're just going to blindly believe women. It's not about blindly believing them. It's about giving them the chance to even tell their story and hear it for what it is, and then allowing the accused to have what they're going to say be said, and then going from there and seeing what happens, right? But more often than not, we've actually been seeing a lot of the accused in this scenario coming back, and just pretty much most people have been apologizing wholesale, or they've sort of been doubling down and turning around and going, well, fuck you guys anyways, no one really cared. Like the one I saw, which was pretty fucking ridiculous, was actually an old I won't say friend, because I barely knew the guy, old acquaintance essentially. Active Money Fufu was not a high profile streamer, but he had a fucking Twitter verification mark.
Yeah.
Which I always figure, hey, you got to be like, and he knew a lot of like high industry, like high profile industry people.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of came out that there was a story about how he had essentially forced himself onto somebody. He came out, apologized for it publicly, made it seem like he was going to try to work for it, and then he like literally like last week he posted another twit longer talking about, actually, you know what? Go fuck yourselves, guys. And it was a whole like him doubling down on like no, and it's like if you were going to do that kind of thing, you probably should have led with that.
Yeah,
because it's like you don't admit to something and then just turn around and go, actually,
you know what? I decided I'm not guilty anymore. I changed my mind.
Yeah, I changed my mind.
Let me out of the car. Let me out of the car. I changed my mind.
All check marks.
Sir, you got in the car 100%. Yourself.
I can't believe Demaduka came up with the fucking best ACAB joke ever.
All check
what
marks
a god.
Bastards. Damn.
That's so good. Yeah, so I mean, on that level, I think that, like I said, we both agree that it's important that this happened. It's going to continue to be important that it's going to happen. That being said, nobody knows if that's what happened with Dr. Disrespect. All that we know, for me personally, there are two sources that I have essentially kind of looked at and that I will actively respond to and understand and go, they probably know. And it's probably that bad. Is Shannon Z Killer, I believe is her name. She used to work with Twitch. She's very high up in the Twitch community. And then Rod Breslau, who is an esports correspondent, who
Mr. Slasher, who knows
Mr. Slasher,
everything.
Yeah, and has broken everything essentially. Even he and him coming out saying that basically was like, listen, what is being told to me is so bad that I don't think I feel comfortable talking about it. And what little bits and pieces that we are getting out of him is essentially it is a legal issue. Yeah. It is a legal battle. So and that's about it, is that we just don't know. And I think that essentially it's going to start coming to light once Mr. Guy, aka Dr. Disrespect, brings his fucking, they bring the legal thing onto the table, and all these like court documents start popping up about these things. Because that's the only thing I can think of, is that he would have to take you're gonna have to take Twitch to court, because essentially what everyone is saying is if they say it and it's not true, it's gonna be defamation. So that means whatever's being told to these people is so wildly bad.
It means that Mixer probably should have stuck around and waited to see what happens for another month.
Yeah. Yeah, because like who knows? Who knows? Twitch might have gotten their fucking.
All I'm saying is that Dr. Disrespect, he wears a bad wig. He's got a handlebar mustache. He wears like a child's life vest. He takes pictures of people's dicks in the bathroom, and his G Fuel flavor is called Black on Blackberry. So maybe he did it. That's all I think. Like whatever it is, I don't immediately just go like, oh no, he's probably, he's cool. All check marks are bastards.
Dude, I really, because we kind of are part of that whole fucking dynamic. So it's really stupid when I sit there and go, all streamers are fucking bastards. But really, it's what it starts feeling like. Is that like
us most of all?
Well, no, not for this. 100%.
No, not in this. Yeah, not for any of these articles that you've seen.
Right, where it's like, but it feels like I'm turning around every single fucking day, and like a new content creator is being outed for just being an unbelievable fucking piece of shit. And like, look, man, I've said it I went to the whole thing just earlier this last month where I renounced the whole swagalagging thing. Lyle came out, he's like, look, if anything comes to me, I'll let you know that I'm going to take my licks too. Like, this isn't going to be a thing you're going to have to suffer in silence alone on. And I really appreciated the support from that. Yeah. But like, man, I'm really glad that I just haven't had sex in like 10 years or haven't really thought about it a whole lot.
Well, the thing I always say to you when I walk past
fucking scenario
is like, it's like, just shut the fuck up. Just don't say or do anything. We're all inside. We all got nothing to do but research things on end. If you're racist, just shut up for like a couple of months. This is the worst time to just be like, yeah, I'm really racist. Don't come out and like have a parade about it. Just shut up. If you're making you got 5 billion Twitch subscribers and like a wife that you're presumably with or not, who knows?
Maybe, who knows?
Then just stay in your house. Go get groceries like sometimes, but just shut up.
What's always fascinates me is these dudes who show up and they start talking to like, because it's always like, especially like Mini Lad, right? Who is he's a pretty prolific YouTuber, and apparently his whole thing was he was talking to underage girls, and I'm like, it must be that they don't have like younger siblings, so they don't know.
Yeah.
But, like even then, like, looking past all this awful, terrible shit, what is so attractive about that mentality, that the younger mentality? And I think that someone basically, they put it out pretty grossly, but it was the most thing that made sense. It was like, well, they can just manipulate them and mold them into whatever they want at that point. Grooming becomes a thing.
You can do that with like adults. It's still bad, but if you have enough money, you can buy things. You shouldn't. It's legal. But what I'm saying is it's more legal.
Oh, no.
Point being is just don't do it. You have 2 hands.
Yeah.
Keep them to yourself,
dude,
as much as you need them.
Dude, it can't be. Look, sex is really not this thing you need to ruin your whole life over. It just isn't.
I've never needed to nut that badly. I've never needed to nut that badly to throw away my career and my friendships and my relationship with my family and my legal record. I've never
and possible jail time.
Possible jail time. I've never had to nut that badly. Ever. I just feel like you just don't have to do it. And maybe that's because there's so few people watching us right now. Maybe if I had like 100,000 viewers, I'd be like, well, I got a nut, and But
the more viewers you get, the more nut becomes substantial.
It's it's the meter in Catherine. Like every time you get 10,000 viewers, and like to the left.
Oh no!
Oh no! Someone DM'd me on Twitter. No, like just don't do it. Hey, if somebody asks you about Skullgirls, just tell them about Skullgirls, man.
If you go to sleep and you just keep hearing bells ringing, it's probably a bad thing. It's probably a bad thing. Stop.
And if you haven't done anything yet, you're going to. So turn your computer off and just hibernate for a couple days. And learn how to do the spider, because it's going to be really useful.
A lot of people in chat are basically saying like it's got to be a fame thing, and I'm like, okay, so that makes sense when you're on like the top of the world and like there's like powerful elements around you.
Yeah,
it's like you're a Z-list internet celebrity in the DMs of a 15-year-old girl who watches your Minecraft videos, and you're asking her for pictures of her asshole. Like, what are you doing, bro? Like, what do you think is gonna happen? Like, that's not like, where do you go off and you go, this is in the thought process, you start going like, where does this like stop? Where is it that my brain as an adult registers and goes, what I'm doing is bad? Regardless of how famous I am. And even then, in the advent of social media, I mean, cancel culture has been around since like 2013. So this is not like a new thing.
That's the other thing, right? Is you're doing this with a gun constantly pointed at you.
Right.
The gun never goes away, and it's there for everybody. The gun is just there, and you see it the whole time. And as your number goes up, so too does the number of guns that are all just trained on you. You look like that fucking John Wick poster. Shut Twitter down, man. What do you like? If I got that famous, I would shut Twitter down. I'd close my Twitter account.
Yeah, 100%.
But I don't listen. I don't want anyone to even talk to me. But no, people like to talk. When I joke about like how I think it's pointless for people to watch other people play video games, obviously it's like a joke, but not 100% a joke, to the point where it's like, even if we make it big and we got hundreds of thousands of viewers, at the end of the day, it's like, It's still video games. I'm not important. I make videos about toys.
Right. Well, hey, listen. Toys that are really cool.
Yeah, they're really cool toys.
But like at the end of the day, because it's also, this isn't just like about underage women either. There's a lot more women in the industry who have had like really distressing stories about being forced into scenarios where someone in power effectively is trying to hold that kind of power dynamic over them to force them into situations both sexually and like even non-sexually. Just harassment in general. I know that there was an esports correspondent of some sort. I think she was working with an esports team that was like a CS:GO team. There's a picture of her in a bathtub full of, like in a hot tub essentially full of a bunch of dudes, and she seems really uncomfortable. And she goes, thankfully, like everyone in the picture was incredibly respectful, and they were like, no, you really don't have to be in this hot tub with us. Like we're just, and she's like, no, just try to like make it seem like play it off, but like the esports team that she worked with essentially was like, no, like that's what you're there for. Like that's what you are. You're just a body. You're a cute little body to keep around. And it's just really fucking distressing to hear that, because it's like, you know what, man, it's these same fucking people that turn around and say shit like that also refuse to allow those same women to like benefit off of that.
That's like the major negative of like our industry that we, I guess, will consider ourselves associated with, is that the whole gaming industry is made up of really weird, awkward nerds, which means that whenever you think that we're like over exaggerating, like the sentence that you just said, that you are a body and this is what you're here for, is, I don't doubt that it was very far off from that exact sentence.
Yeah.
Just because there's a lot of socially awkward people in this community. And I'm gonna guess in this industry too, of like, maybe you just really don't know. Maybe you just are bad. Like, the Mike Z thing especially is like, if you know you're awkward, just maybe don't. If you don't think you can respond respectfully, choose not to and funnel it through somebody else. Maybe send the tweet over as like, hey, does this make me look like a fucking creepazoid? And then Sonic Fox can go, yeah, Mike. yes, it does. And then you can like workshop it. But like, that forethought doesn't exist. The act of thinking before you do the action is removed. And it's something I don't understand, because I have that before I tweet funny things. And not even the things I send you, like, hey, Phil, can I tweet this? Like, not even just those. I just mean, like, sometimes I'll, like, think about responding to somebody, and I'll type it all out, and I'll look it over, and I'm like, this isn't even really all that funny. This isn't even really funny to post. And then I just don't do it. Like, I can't imagine doing something, like, bad and not having that thought.
Right. It just, you know, it's funny you bring that up, because it is a point that we can kind of mark on, like an earlier thing that I was asking about, which was like, what is it that drives people to do this? And it's totally because they just don't know any better.
They're just a fucking awkward weirdo. We're all awkward weirdos.
Right, and they still kind of are operating under the mindset that like, oh, girls in gaming is weird. I haven't run into it when I've played with them, but I've got a lot of like girlfriends who play Valorant with me. And they go, yeah, I try not to speak because I get fucking shit on just for being a female. And they go, well, I'm not going to listen to your call outs, because it's like, how can you? How is it that in God's year of 2020 that you're still thinking that you refuse to even listen to a call out because she has a vagina?
That is the most confusing thought process for me. Is like, I have to nut, but I have to disrespect women more. Like, the two things, you know, there's a tier list, there's an order of operations here. Like,
it's like, wait, hold on, wait a minute. So you want
people to like you, but
girl?
Yeah, but like, not if she like talks. Like.
So let me get this straight. You want to have sex with the hot cosplay girl, but the moment she even like remotely decides that her life is her own, it's a problem?
I don't get
So you want an object?
They sell those for cheap.
Yeah, like there's like the the flashlights you get for like
Pick
$60.
yourself up a fuck me silly mega masturbator.
Yeah. Look, you're spending tons of fucking money on goddamn Hearthstone cards, you fucking nerd, and loot boxes. Why not save up $300 and get me a fuck me silly butt thing?
Get it?
And just
Yeah.
get a huge butt sent to you, and you can just do that.
Guess what?
And it's
Stick a fucking glue an anime girl on it. It could be whoever.
Who fucking cares? Do your thing.
You can
I don't
disrespect it all at
understand.
once. It's plastic. What's
It's not real. But the moment it's attached to a real person, it's like, no, there's no way this vagina is gonna have rights.
It better not go top. It better. Like,
if you go top, I'm DCing. What does that mean?
support or feed. Support or feed. Oh man. That's the great thing about a big plastic ass is that it always goes bottom. Because it's a butt.
Just treat women like people. That's what they are.
Just treat everyone like a person. I don't
is what
just.
they
It
are.
seems so easy. Just do it.
How do you wake up and go, this is a good life choice? You know, because I think it's like still like, I don't get people who bring that alpha Chad mentality into video games. Bruh, you're playing you're fucking around with a toy. Like you are legally, like you are basically
one step away from.
engaged.
You're one step away from building with kinetics. All right. I don't give a fuck if you went 20-2. You're a bitch. Throw a ball, idiot. Read a book.
You cannot be an alpha Chad and fucking cry at League of Legends. It doesn't work. It doesn't work.
Alpha Chads don't play grapplers. Alpha Chads play Platinum the Trinity. That's what Alpha Chads play. Alpha Chads
so
play Lucky
stupid.
Chloe. They don't play Marduk.
Toxic masculinity existing in games has always been such a massively confusing concept to me. It just doesn't fucking, it doesn't matter.
It's
It
because
doesn't matter.
The nerd can bully the nerdier nerd.
Yeah, this fucking idiot watches anime, says the man who watches anime.
Says man with anime. Fucking weebs, says weeb.
Just fucking, and then the other side of it too is the same dudes who show up and do the Mike Z thing, and it's like, why don't girls like me? It's like, well, maybe if you didn't fucking talk to them like you're in a slice of life anime, my guy,
Listen,
like you're just gonna
sometimes there's no subtext. They really just want to know about Skullgirls. Like, sometimes they just want to know when the next balance patch is coming out. Like,
it's not that deep.
it's not
It
about
never
you.
is that deep. I get it, man. No, I 100% get it. Maybe there are times where you feel like you've been led on. I get that, man.
Yeah.
But like,
It happened. But
it happened. But you know what you do? You fucking pick yourself up and you move the fuck on. And maybe what would be a good start when you look at a girl who's attractive. Maybe the first thing that pops in your head isn't, I want to put my penis inside of her.
maybe it's hi.
Hi. Hey, how you doing? My name is this. What's yours?
My name's Mike Z.
Hey, you like video games?
And again,
Let's play a match. Let's play a match. So go ahead. Just whatever.
if you're not brave enough, really, run it through a third party first. Anybody.
And if still it doesn't work, shut the fuck up.
Then you shut up. You shut up forever.
Just shut the fuck up. It don't look, coming from a man who has said some just head ass shit before. nowhere near Mike Z levels. And thankfully, I've never had a woman come up to me and be like,
"Hey, Phil, I'd really like to know more about PSO2."
Hey, what about that Valorant that you always play? And it's, it's like, I see. So you want my penis?
Yeah. You nailed it, Phil.
I've had my problem's the inverse. My problem's always been the inverse. Is that like people come up to me and go, "That person was hitting on you," and I go, "What? I don't know what you're talking about," and I just walk away.
Yeah, because you know how to shut the fuck up, Phil. That's.
It's like, signals. I don't get those. Maybe when 5G, I got that one.
5G. Yeah.
It's going for my phone.
You want to know about philia?
Tales of Berseria is pretty cool. You ever heard of it? Yeah. It's a really cool fucking Tales game. I like it a lot.
Oh, God.
Tales Abyss is still my favorite.
If you take anything away from today's podcast, it's that watching video games are pointless and shut the fuck up. Those are your 2 takeaways.
Just shut the fuck up. Just like, you think... If your brain immediately defaults to women bad, maybe just don't fucking open your mouth anymore. Maybe just don't. It's not that deep. It's never that deep.
It's never that deep. Speaking of not being as deep as it maybe tries to be, our last story of the day. Neil Druckmann didn't get too deep into himself when he mocapped both halves of the sex scene in The Last of Us Part 2.
So as Max described it, he said we were discussing the efficacy of whether or not that was like a thing, like how he could do it, and Max said, "No, it's just one full motion." He thrusts into the hump.
He starts standing, and he thrusts and he converts. He converts the damage. He lands the hit, and he hit confirms the thrust into the receive. If Neil Druckmann sent himself a DM, he'd report himself. Like, hands guaranteed.
Oh, okay. Let me pull it, because I need to pull up the fucking score.
I don't know what you even wanted to talk about. You just kind of posted The Last of Us 2 has become a minefield. And I'd agree, but I don't know what direction we're going in.
You didn't see the thing? You didn't see the thing? So the article is actually talking about how someone from Vice got approached by Naughty Dog and Sony because they happen to have a negative review of the game.
Yeah.
And apparently the conversation was incredibly cordial. They're like, "Hey, so why did you rate this game so low?"
That's like, not what the protection money said to do.
So there's been a lot of conversations essentially amassing itself around The Last of Us 2 for good reason. This is... It's right now it is a Metascore of 94. It has over 4 million units have been essentially sold through, which doesn't necessarily mean sales like outright. It just means sold through. There are 4 million units that have been given to retailers to just do whatever they want with, and the number is increasing. So this game on all fronts is essentially incredibly successful right now.
Yes.
And yet the offhand negative reviews are getting responses from both internally from Sony and Naughty Dog, and also the people who worked on it, who just can't hack the idea that maybe, just fucking maybe, it's not that deep. It really isn't.
Maybe sometimes a person just doesn't like your video game.
Maybe I don't have to go through 25 plus hours of misery to know that killing be bad, that revenge is bad, in the post-apocalypse, if I want to get something done, I should probably kill everybody in the room.
And I will say, this is an important statement for me to make, as we have talked big, large, colossal shit about The Last of Us Part 2. Is that since the last time we talked big, large, colossal shit about The Last of Us 2, I have seen a video. It was a very long, very well made, but I almost think they forgot to edit parts of it video, and I'm trying to find the man's name. by Noah Cadwell Gervais, and it was a 2-hour video called "How Does The Last of Us 2 Part 2 Compare to The Last of Us Remastered?" It's pretty good, and it allowed me to, for the most part, see The Last of Us Part 2 from beginning to end. So I have now seen all of the things that you've been telling me about, and while I don't think it's as bad as I was picturing it to be, it definitely hasn't gotten better or deeper or more meaningful. The only thing I've kind of reconsidered is it's like, the game's not trying to make you feel bad about killing. It's trying to make you not like Ellie for all the killing she's doing. To which I respond, okay, what enjoyment do I garner from this experience?
Right.
Besides, I used to like Ellie, now she sucks. Okay,
yeah,
fine.
Here's this character who also... Here's this character who did this irredeemable thing, who also is your papa, your surrogate father.
Yeah.
And has been, and we're gonna try to retroactively make you feel the big feels about these things, about the experiences with the people in the game. Only to completely and utterly justify his just departure, essentially.
Pretty much.
To justify every single, like, no matter what happens, everyone here is pretty much wholly justified in what they're doing.
Yeah.
And it's not like it's a bad thing. It's
that part,
everyone has a good
that part for sure did not change. The second party is 100% justified in every action that they take.
Yeah, 100 fucking percent.
The scene before the epilogue, before Ellie goes and does the big last thing, was actually about 30 times worse than I could ever imagine, because for the most part, Ellie gets out relatively consequence-free. Like, as picturesque as it could possibly be.
I told you, it's idyllic.
It is almost insultingly idyllic. And then, like, I don't know.
Dreamlike, even.
Oh, no, I'm sorry, but the cycle of revenge, I have to go show everyone how bad it is. And then you do, and fair enough. So, yeah.
But do you really show it if you don't do it? If you just if you don't go through the cycle, is it really a bad cycle if you just can break it at any time? If you just
no,
stop,
it's not a bad cycle, and no, that doesn't stop The Last of Us Part 2 from doing that exact thing. So no to both points. Also, by the way, guys, that was a minor spoiler for The Last of Us Part 2, but I've seen our analytics, and I know you guys on YouTube didn't make it this far anyway. So that's why I didn't preface it beforehand. I just figured everyone in Twitch chat has already heard us talk about it.
I've basically been trying to, so we spoiled essentially in
Twitch
chat.
You did a big spoiler video or stream. I remember hearing that through the wall.
Yeah.
from my cage. Yeah, I heard the spoiler.
From the cage. Essentially, we spoke about it at length, and what we ended up coming down to was this: it did not need a sequel, but it most certainly could have been. It favored better. I think a lot of the things that we brought up, that like the one that we kind of both agreed on was
make it an anthology.
Or the second group should have just joined the first group, and that there could have been a lot of drama building up between the groups there, and it could have been in a really climactic ending battle.
Oh yeah, that idea.
Where it was like, Abby joins along Ellie, and they start, everyone starts building a relationship with one another, even though they know what happened, and there's a bunch of possible traitorism happening at foot, and then all of a sudden it ends and culminates in a large ending where you choose who you play as and who you agree with.
And if you decide to take revenge or not. If you gave the player the choice and at the end realized, you know what, none of this was worth it, and the player decided that for themselves, then okay. I would probably just end it, but, at least present the choice as an option.
As Lau put it, he was like, what it feels like is essentially the characters are doing things that the player would never do.
Yeah, it is,
and that's
like
that's supposed to be the point where you're just like, but that's not good. That's not a video game. It's a movie. Just make a fucking movie.
Yeah, make this shit like an hour and a half, like every other horror film. Why do I gotta play it for 10 days straight?
So, obviously that leads into the idea that even though it's been getting near universal fucking praise, somehow, some way, the very, very few negative reviews it's been receiving, have been garnering some of the most, which is why it's like, I understand that, like, conceptually, when you look at the internet, almost always everywhere you're going to see the universal hatred of the game. And I think that people are mad at the game for all the wrong reasons. I'm not going to sit there and discount that by any means. I think that there are definitely people out there who are like alt-right dipshits who are like, there's a trans character, so I'm going to go ahead and hate the game just off the basis of that.
What was the character's name? Because they seem really fucking cool.
Lev
seemed like an amazing character. I'm like, that was a complaint. I'm like, is it like, does it feel like pandering? Is it like a bad character? Like, what if so many people were complaining about it? And then I saw Lev. I'm like, Lev's fucking awesome. What the fuck?
Yeah.
So I don't.
Well, I guess the other thing people brought up too is apparently Neil Druckmann. He was like, I don't know how to work this in, but I'm going to go ahead and work in a trans plot line. Which is like, listen, once again, guys, it's not that deep. I understand how important it is to have like the mentality of approaching things with tact and with like actual like understanding. But as a writer myself, when you are looking for a reason to do something, sometimes it is as simple as, I like this idea, I'm fascinated by this concept, I want to find a way to utilize this in a character. Yeah. It doesn't make that person bad for doing that. What makes it bad is if that person is doing that and representing that character, and that character is the representation of every terrible stereotype that is associated with that particular character's like essentially goals or that their identity. Like if Lev was like I don't even know, like a stereotypical trans man essentially, who I couldn't even begin to tell you because I don't know very much about
at no point gives it like an entire speech where he looks into the camera and he's like, listen guys, this is the part where I tell you about what being trans means to me. And like it's not like we put this in here. This isn't a woke thing. This isn't like a look how, look at us. We look at all the representation we have. That's not what this is. This is just a character that's trans and is in the game.
It's because there is so the Lev storyline is built around the fact that they come from
a crazy religious
cult that essentially they were born female and they want to just completely break free from that, and their story ends with them trying to go back and get some kind of forgiveness, and it just blows up in their face. And like that's like an interesting story to tell. I think the idea that people are just, I'm so sick and tired of having people be like, this element is added in, therefore it is part of the woke agenda. Fuck off. Listen, you can't sit there and ask for games to take on serious fucking topics and then not think that maybe, just fucking maybe, the concept of sexuality, identity, and all sorts of things are going to maybe be touched upon a little bit. Just a little bit. And what's even single-handedly worse, is the idea that so many people believe that Abby was the trans character simply because of her body's build, which I get it. In the post-apocalypse, it is a little strange that she hit the creatine as hard as she fucking did. But they pretty much almost like dead on show that she's part of a near fascistic society of soldier types that are built from the ground up to murder motherfuckers.
Yeah.
So
and the 144p leaked screenshots, like, what are you really garnering from that? Like, in game, it's like, yeah, this is a fit woman who's a part of a military state. Like, what? I don't know.
Like, it's like, look, Abby's fucking huge, like monstrously huge, even
She
like
could
bigger than
throw
most
me
dudes.
really far.
Right. And it's like, I get why some people would think that's like completely like not going to happen, but also it's just how is it that they're able to understand that and then they see the Mad Max thing happen and they're completely fine with these muscled up, like buffed out, oiled up dudes? It's like in that regard, then basically everyone's supposed to be just like, look, no one's going to be really inherently like in shape anyway. But if you belong to a society where essentially the entirety of your whole thing is you're bowling over just like settlements entirely and stealing all their resources, yeah, it would stand to ground that like if there was an enforcer type that person needs to kind of be as strong as they're going to be, and also if that person has a reason to try to go out and kill people, such as maybe wanting to take revenge, it would stand to reason that that person is not going to show up with spindly little spaghetti arms that are not capable of inflicting massive amounts of damage.
Yeah.
So that in and of itself doesn't make a whole lot of sense that people are mad at. And even the big spoiler of the departure of a loved character, it's like, did we play the same fucking game? Are you insane that you feel that this person is sympathetic even in the slightest when we have shown that this person is a villain? Selfish, understandable, even relatable, but a bad person.
I like that
entirely.
guy. I like that guy, but you know, sometimes it bees like that. You know, like he kind of, you know, he had that coming.
He had it fucking coming, and people are like, but why would you do that? Why are you going to force me to play the other person? I agree. Maybe they shouldn't have done that. Maybe the idea that we came up with, where it's like, just let it be a slow build up, a slow burn, instead of just massive viral moment that you can sell, that every AAA fucking game has to be sold on nowadays to make ends meet.
You gotta have a big gamer moment where everyone goes,
gotta have
that
big.
My expectations, they were here, but now they're over there. Like you can't.
You know, it's the best explanation I ever got was the people who talked about, I forget who even like brought it up, but it was like, it feels like when Game of Thrones season 8 came out, they didn't write it for the fans. They wrote it for the dudes who do the videos of the large bar reactions. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The people who they get a bunch of people into a room and they go, oh no,
and then
or
people
they
see that and they go,
cheer.
wow, I should really buy the Blu-ray when it comes out. Like,
right, and it's like,
that looks hype. Oh,
that's kind of what it feels like what they did with The Last of Us too, at least. And like just the fact that the game is entirely built upon a rather innocuous moment, like not innocuous, it was definitely important, but like kind of glossed over at the end, and people just kind of look at it like, well, whatever. He shouldn't have gone out like a punk. It's like, listen, in the real world, if you're taken by surprise,
you go out like a huge punk.
You go out like a huge fucking punk. You just do. You just absolutely do. And I'm not trying to defend the game any more than I already have been, but essentially there are just a couple of things that people are mad at that they should totally turn around, look themselves in the mirror and go, am I a good person or am I just a piece of shit reactionist who just is going to knee jerk at every little thing that even remotely sounds like it's part of the quote unquote woke culture that I despise for whatever, because the quartering and it's a Gundam on YouTube told me to. Fucking idiots! Like
we don't like The Last of Us Part 2 because we don't think it's particularly well written, and we think it betrays character motivations, and the motivations don't make sense. That's it.
That's it. Normally, smart people have to do terribly dumb things for the story to work.
I'm sure that pointing the gun and shooting the gun feels good, and gosh golly, have I seen some set pieces in this game that are like the prettiest thing I've ever seen in a video game ever. Wow. Like,
the village segment was really kind of crazy.
Anytime there's water and you have to circumnavigate water is very impressive. But at least discussing this allows us to end the podcast on a very high note. Because with those couple of negative reviews, Persona 5 Royal is now the #1 game on Metacritic, and I think it deserves it. I definitely think it deserves it. I think a 95 is a good score for it too. I wouldn't put it higher. I'd say 95 for my favorite game. That's fair.
See, Miss here, can confirm. Let me just go ahead and confirm. Top releases.
I should set this as my Twitter banner, honestly. Or I should add it. Persona 5 Royal above The Last of Us Part 2.
I'm trying to see the... I'm on Metacritic right now, and for whatever reason, it's only showing me the recent games.
Yeah, it's really tough. I found it.
Oh, FF7 actually went up to 87. Fuck yeah.
Yeah, the same score as Persona 4 Golden, a game that came out in 2008.
Hey, guy. You love that game now. You can't sit there and say you don't.
I hate it that I like it so much. It's very frustrating. Frustrating because now I have to wait. What's going on?
And I guess a small aside before we ended on. I made a statement about the Troy Baker. Look, man.
Oh yeah.
I really get it. I have. You're very passionate about the things you work on. You 100% should be. You're very good at what you do. Maybe stay in your fucking lane when you talk about like anything to do with developer shit, because you just don't know. And if you do, it's even worse that you have like such a fucking reductive view. So essentially, like I put this up on the Discord the other day, and a lot of people didn't really understand why I was so upset about it. And essentially, Jason Schreier made a really just innocuous, kind of completely out there statement saying video games are too long, which is what we've said for fucking years now. We 100% agree. Video games should not be 50 fucking hours every single time.
Unless it's made by P Studio, make your game like under 20 hours.
Right, like, or like if it's an RPG, like if it doesn't need to be fucking 100 hours of content that most of it is just nothing.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, Troy Baker had the audacity to come up and try to retweet this thing. I think it was a Theodore Roosevelt quote that essentially the core crux of the quote is about how it's not the critic outside, it's not the man doing the count, it's the fighter inside the arena who you really should listen to. Like basically saying if you don't work in game development at all, you shouldn't remark on it, which is like the most single-handedly reductive statement to make about a person like Jason Schreier, who, say what you will about the man and like his work with Kotaku, for the most part, he's broken every single like terrible mispractice that the game industry has been doing to developers for the last 10 years of his fucking journalistic life. Like he's been the one true journalist in the entirety of
journalism. He is the photographer in the trenches. He's the war photographer there. Like he's got his sidearm, and he's looking down the barrel with the guy in QA. Like,
yeah, and it's frustrating on every level that people because they sit there and they can't handle a little bit of critique on their video game. Which, by the way, it wasn't even critique towards his game.
No.
He just inferred that it's this really popular person. Long. And he knows that game is upsettingly long, almost too fucking long. And he knows it's a common fucking critique pointed out about the game. And he decided he just wanted to go ahead and swing for the fences at somebody who you really shouldn't fuck with on any level.
Yeah.
It's like, it's like this man, he's like the Frank West of fucking video games journalism, he was in there.
He's got his own fucking song. It plays during the credits.
It does. God damn it. He did the overtime. And regardless of what you feel about his personal opinions, like I said, you cannot look at the body of his work and go, he knows nothing about what he's talking about.
Yeah.
He is the most knowledgeable on what he's talking about. And it just I think that privileged little voice actors who don't need to go on riot and protest to keep getting jobs, which, by the way, thanks for standing in solidarity with the rest of your fucking voice actor cred, you fucking asshole. But whatever. Go ahead and keep taking their fucking jobs while they're trying to fight for better rights for them. But, hey, what do I know? I'm just a critic. You fucking ingrate.
You are not a critic.
Yeah, I have to make a review first.
That's true, yeah. Hey,
which
Phil,
is coming very soon.
What's going on with anything, ever, at any point in time?
Hey, so we're going to be playing a little bit more Valorant on the channel because there are some people. I like the little bit of ego boost that I get whenever I get on Valorant, and someone goes, "Wow, you have a really nice radio voice," and I go, "Yeah, I have a face for it too." So we're going to be playing some Valorant. I picked up Dungeon Fighter Online, so I'm probably going to be playing DFO on the channel. I don't know what we're going to be doing for single player games. Ghost of Tsushima is around the corner. I do care.
I do. I'll play Ghost of Sushi. And also, what else comes out next month? What was it? I totally forgot. Oh, right. You guys won't watch me play that. Never mind.
What is it?
I remembered what it was.
What was it?
It was my trademark. My trademark game comes out next month.
Oh, it's a Neptune game?
No. Why? I don't like Neptune that much.
Oh,
that was a bit.
Art.
Yes.
Sword Art
Come on.
comes out.
You guys know.
Well,
you guys know it. You say it. You know it. You say it.
Listen,
I will not.
Deadly Premonition 2? We have to play the first one first.
I will not play that either. Sorry. I respect Deadly Premonition and I like it as a concept, but I never want to put my hands on one of those games.
See what I mean when I told you guys we should do the playthroughs that are totally going to be gold and totally be funny, and Max just refuses because he just likes making his life harder.
If I don't have to play it, then I'll be there for it. I don't mind sitting on the couch for bad games.
Oh, well what? Oh, well, that was a stipulation for Bouncer as well. Okay, that's
100% a stipulation for Bouncer.
That was true. I didn't know if that was just every game. Okay, well, that's fine. I can do that.
Yeah. That was the plan.
All right. Well, hey, I don't know. For the channel, I guess. You know what? Like I said, I really, really, really want to play Lost Planet 2 with Max. So I feel like that'll be a really fun time. Is if we ever get Lost Planet 2 running on his PC, and with that, if he does it, I don't care if we don't find anybody else to play with. We'll just do the 2-player co-op thing. No big deal. Yeah. Lyle unfortunately confirmed he cannot join. He's too busy doing stuff on his channel, so that's not going to happen. Have been kind of in a horror game mood, so I might pick up something that I was looking into.
I'll tell you what, a brand new horror game just came out on the PS4. It's an exclusive. I'm sure you'd love it.
Okay, go ahead. Hit me with it.
Oh. It starts with the.
Yeah? What's it end with?
The Last of Us Part 2.
That does sound horrible. Okay, well, maybe. We'll see what happens.
Monstrously spooky.
I did say I did want to do Xenoblade on the channel, which I still absolutely want to do. Xenoblade. I think that'll be the next big single-player project from me, because I did all of Final Fantasy VII on stream. The next big project will be the Xenoblade Chronicle streams. And that will be the big going back and forth and then doing that for pretty much the entire year if I ever pick it up. So be on the lookout for that for sure. And then in the meantime, I will be working on more reviews for more games like Valorant and more one-offs. And I do want to do a video on the remake. I think that Max is working on something as well.
I have a tiny video that I'm working on right now, considering a game that I did play recently, but did not talk about today. And then following that video, we will be starting a series on stream to coincide with said video. You're gonna have to wait, jackass. You're not gonna know today. Aside from that, as far as like small one-off stuff, I mentioned it earlier. I'm gonna mess around and see if I can get Hitman just to run on my computer first, and then see if we can't stream that as like a 1 or 2 stream thing. I'll probably just be messing around with some smaller stuff, maybe fighting games. I know I like fighting games. I don't know how many people want to watch them, but we shall see. Nothing too major in planned as far as what I'm planning.
We forgot.
What did we forget?
2 things. Both of them are Community Night centric.
Oh.
One, we brought up the Titanfall 2 one.
And we're not going to talk about the other one.
We're not? You don't want to talk about the other one?
No, wait. We're going to wait on that one. Trust me. It coincides with the other 2 things I talked about.
Okay. All right. We'll wait then.
But just know you can't.
There's a lot of research we got to do. By the way, we got a lot of research we got to go do.
Yeah, there's work required.
There's a lot of work required in that one.
But we'll do it. We'll get it. We'll make it work somehow.
It's installed. I'm ready to go. I'm ready for it. But fuck, I was reading some guides. Holy shit. We are not ready.
We're not. Are we really not ready?
No, we're not. No.
Oh Lord. Well, then we should all be excited for that one. But I have nothing else to say.
Other than fuck God. But, that's cool. All right, guys, thanks for coming around. Yeah, we'll see you on the flip side. Also, I guess, housekeeping, none of the podcast will be kind of a bi-weekly thing. We're going to the reason we did it on Tuesday was because we figured Tuesday is the perfect day for both of us to do, where we're like, okay, it's the beginning of the week where there's possible news coming out, and it's not at the end of the week where me and Max are almost always doing something else.
Yes.
So,
So we're thinking every other Tuesday starting now. We'll see.
We'll see. Welcome to part 2. I love you guys. And once again, Troy Baker, I love you, but shut the fuck up, bro. I mean, just
listen,
please.
Man, if you're not playing Kanji Tatsumi, then you need to not be playing anything at all.
I'm just saying, man. Like, just shut up.